على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream. And really, I think this is our second stream in the month of Ramadan, because there was a little bit of travel. There was also a little bit of sickness in the air. And so we didn't have a stream since we had, I think, Dr. Hatem al-Hajj, and we talked about Zakah, etc. We also talked about the Suhur Fests. Now, I want to make 2 points before we bring on our esteemed guest from Malaysia, who is up at 3 a.m. Allah reward him, in Malaysia, which is one of the mahjar places of Hijra that Muslims are taking advantage of and benefiting from. So I'm going to ask him about that too. For the Suhur Fest discussion, one of the things that we made very important on that post that was done by Sheikh Ahmed Salim and Sheikh Osama Shurafa, and I know he doesn't like himself to be called Sheikh Osama Shurafa, but he is a guide in Islam for sure, talking about a lot of important things. But one of the points we made was not to say Suhur Fest is haram. Because Suhur Fest itself, it could have so many different tasawurat. It could come in so many different ways. So what I said is, list the things that are haram, to the extent that any event, whether Suhur Fest or Iftar Fest or regular Halal Fest or whatever, has these aspects of it. Those things are unlawful, on top of the fact that Ramadan is a sacred month. Everything about it is sacred. So Allahu in it is not appropriate. And that's why we change it to stop Suhur Fest, because I could tell you stop eating a lot of sugar. I could tell you stop doing something haram. I could say stop doing something makruh. I could say stop doing something totally halal, but inadvisable, right? So stop is perfectly accurate because it covers all those things. So insofar as it has all these unlawful things, and the analogy, let's say, someone told me, Sheikh Yasir Qadi said it's like going to the mall, but there is a difference. Going to hang out at the mall for an hour, 2 hours, and 3 hours after Tarawih or the nights of Ramadan, is that advisable? Is that advisable? Is that appropriate? Is that the right thing to do? Is it even is it the right thing to do in a sacred time like that? So something doesn't always have to have the label of haram on it. You could say it's inadvisable. Don't do it, because sometimes these things they're fuzzy between categories, and that's why it was exactly accurate the way we put it, and it would be inadvisable even if it was all 100% halal. Where let's have a chit chat and talk and completely segregated. Not even eating too much, just chit-chatting for the whole time. That's not advisable. In Ramadan, you chit-chat 20 minutes and then move on. It's not advisable to do too much talking, unless it's ilm, obviously, what we're trying to do here. Ta'aleem, that's different. Now, the second thing that I wanted to point out was that I had a really nice event. The trip to Toronto is always a great event. And just to give a quick recap on that, I always love going to these places. I love Canada. I love hockey, and I love snow. So I always love going to Canada. I feel like I had an affinity to Canada before really a lot of people knew about it, because of the hockey connection. I knew all the cities. I knew where they were, all that stuff. Turns out, of course, time passes and Toronto becomes a hub for Muslim immigrants. And as a result of that, it's always fun going out to Toronto. Now, I thought we were going to do a 2-hour talk and a rapid fire QA. But in fact, there was a surprise guest, which I ended up splitting the stage with the comedian Muhammad Amir, who I had heard the name, but I had never actually seen his face before. I did not even know what he looked like. I've heard his name from Allah Made Me Funny, the tour. So they said, look, I know this is unexpected, but you have to split the stage. So I guess I didn't know anything about him. I asked my wife, could you send me a quick briefing? I'm about to share a stage with somebody I don't even know anything about him except his name. So she sent it to me, and we actually, I guess, didn't have the same kind of event that we had the year before, but he was a nice guy. I don't know much about his show. I've heard mixed reviews Islamically about his show. Actually, not mixed. Everyone had the same opinion that there's some munkar. If you're a religious and practicing Muslim, it's not show is not for you. Let's put it that way. If you're dropping f-bombs and that one of the thumbnail has him in bed with a woman, so I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it is some kind of avenue of dawah to some people, but for a practicing Muslim, probably inadvisable to watch. But and anyway, that was sort of like a bit of a surprise. But anyway, as they say, it is what it is, which is a phrase that I find is so stupid. It is what it is. A thing cannot be anything else except it itself. Now, I'm looking at my screen, folks, and I can't help saying, but our guest looks like we went into a time machine and that we're about to interview Sheikh Nazim al-Haqqani from 1950. And if anybody knows Sheikh Nazim al-Haqqani, those original pictures, you're going to notice that our noble guest, Shaykh Farid Dingle, is with us today and has a little bit of resemblance of Sheikh Nazim al-Haqqani. So let's bring on our guest. Bismillah, tafaddal. Shaykh Farid, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for inviting me.
Has anyone ever said this before?
That I look like Sheikh Nazim?
Yeah.
No, I don't think. My uncle was one of his students. So
subhanallah. So that was maybe I would say it's 1950s Sheikh Nazim with the black beard. All right, so tell us about yourself. Are you from the Netherlands?
I'm from England.
England, okay. Not the Netherlands or anything.
No. So okay. I'm from England. My dad's English, well, rahimahullah, was an English convert. My mum's a Swiss convert, so from Switzerland. We grew up in a convert family in the middle of nowhere, basically. I don't think we didn't have a mosque, and we don't have a mosque, I don't think, in our city in England. So I was kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's a reason for that. I guess my dad saw certain signs of the end of time. He saw the passing of certain scholars like Maulana Yusuf Banuri. So he was there in Pakistan with him. He wasn't, he was just there in Banuri town as a new convert there, but he saw him pass away. He saw other people like Shahid Allah Faridi. I don't know if you're familiar with that name.
I'm not familiar with him, no.
So he was an Oxford, convert, English convert who became Muslim, studied Arabic and Persian at Oxford, I think, and he went to Pakistan, and he was kind of like a Chishti Pir. So my dad saw him pass away, and saw certain fiqh sheikhs, kind of experience with a lot of fiqh sheikhs and fiqh kind of things. So we kind of grew up in the middle of nowhere for a reason. That was like khalas is akhir zaman, and that's it. Just die praying, and that's it.
Subhanallah.
So that's where I grew up in the middle of nowhere. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had certain, put certain people in certain places at certain times that changed our lives. Alhamdulillah, we were Muslim, but you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, which isn't very good for Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
So at the age of 12, one of my teachers, Sheikh Noor Keller, he started coming. Well, he was probably already coming to England, but I was 12. He started coming to England. I used to see that his classes here and there. And at the age of 16, I went to Jordan. I visited Jordan just for a summer, for a few weeks. I went back when I was 18 again, and then I was going to go do a gap year there. Right, I was planning to do Arabic, Hebrew, and Aramaic. I think it was Arabic, Hebrew, and Aramaic at University of Manchester. I was just 18 or 19. And then I just went to Jordan for a year, and I ended up staying for 13 years. So I was
MashaAllah. Jordan for 13 years. That's great. And you became a student of Shafii Fiqh.
Yes. So in Jordan, I'm basically a Shafii Fiqh, Arabic language, Hadith. Yeah, those kind of three things basically. Yeah.
MashaAllah. Wonderful. And who are the main shuyukh in Shafii Fiqh?
So my initial teacher was Sheikh Hamza Karamani. So
Mm-hmm.
I worked with him in Sunni Path, right at the end of Sunni Path days. So I was there with him. He was kind of my my kind of initial teacher that opened doors for me, like gave me kind of, guided me in studying the ulum in general. So he kind of taught me, I guess, most things, introduction to most things. I remember him opening, he was teaching the Sulam al-Munawraq in Mantiq, on, I don't know, it was Qibla then, or whatever it was called, some kind of, revival of Sunni path. And he was showing me his textbook. He said, see these notes, these are from Sheikh Talal Ahdab, when I was in Canada, back in the day. So he was, for me, that Sheikh Hamza Karamali was like my, what's it called? My sensei, if I speak, like he's that kind of, when you're kind of young, you don't know what you're doing. And he was guiding me. He's like, study this, don't study this. And he was kind of my main teacher at the beginning. Then Sheikh Ahmed Hassanat, so the current Grand Mufti of Jordan. I studied with him. And Sheikh Amjad Rashid. So Sheikh Amjad Rashid was kind of like Sheikh Hamza Karamali's teacher, also the teacher of, I guess you can call it, say, the teacher as well of Sheikh Ahmed Hassanat in the early years. And so he was, and then those three are the main people I studied with.
MashaAllah, wonderful. So tell me, what is it like to be son of two converts in the middle of nowhere? That seems like it was very challenging.
So pros and cons, right? Pros and cons. So there's, everything comes with a package. So there's when you speak to people from ethnic families, there's pros and cons. Sometimes a lot of issues, a lot of things are a bit too complex. There's too many cultural baggage and things like that, and too much history in the family and these kind of things. At the same time, we were kind of in the middle of nowhere. So like, I remember I visited Egypt when I was 12. My dad was working in Egypt for a short time. And I was like, what's going on? Like, why am I in the middle of nowhere? Like, I'm in a place where there's no masjid, there's nothing, right? There's no, it's like, why am I like this one white guy and, like a bunch of white people? Like, how am I supposed to do what is right? Like, okay, we'll pray 5 times a day, do this. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's it's challenging. It's challenging. I had so my uncle in Switzerland, he's Naqshbandi. So his daughters, my cousins, they're just, number one, it was females. Number two, they're in another country. I don't know their language. They don't know mine. So it was it was kind of difficult. Like,
and he's a convert too.
He's a convert. He became Muslim like when he was like 15 or something like that. So that was like a long time ago. I guess like late 60s or something like that. So it's difficult, but alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we had community. Like, England is a good country. It's a good country to be, I think. You're close. Again, I didn't see the whole of Chicago, but coming from the Bay Area, I was in the Bay Area for the last 5 years before I came to Malaysia. Like, that place is, I don't know, may Allah help them. It's relatively dead compared to let's say England. England is like, mashallah, if you go, like, I studied have you heard of Gloucester cheese?
What is it?
Have you heard of Gloucester cheese?
Yes, Gloucester cheese.
So Hereford, that's where I'm from. Hereford, right next to Gloucester. Okay, they pronounce it Gloucester. That's how they pronounce it. So Gloucester was like right next, like it was like it's like I guess a 40-minute drive from my city. So like we had like one of my teachers there. He was a student of Sheikh Abdul Basit. So that's like, if you compare, so like, alhamdulillah, England is great. We have some, like, you go to Birmingham Sharif, if you visited, mashallah, it's like how many huffaz, how many muftin who, like, really solid, shuyukh, and it's live and active, and so alhamdulillah, there, if you want to be part of things, they exist. So alhamdulillah, like through my older brother, when things start kicking off, and then we were involved. I was involved in Jama'at Tabligh. I was involved in different things. And eventually, like, you can there's a million majalis there. There's a million things happening. If you want the good company, you can find it,
Yeah, that sounds like my experience too. And I think one of the most important things for people that I would advise, that, of course, I got caught up in, probably still get caught up in, is a lot of argumentation, sectarian argumentation. It ruins your dhawq. It ruins the taste of iman in your heart. And it's an era, I believe, that we're in as an ummah that mimicked the era of the Jews. So when the Jews came back after the time of Prophet Daniel and Armiya from the Babylonian captivity,
Yeah.
they found that the northern tribes who had been decimated and mixed with pagans had become Jewish. But the actual Jews, when they came back from Babylon, didn't recognize them because they were intermixed with pagans. They were intermarried, fully intermarried with pagans, and had a history of mixing Tawheed with paganism. So they rejected them, and that initiated a fissure. And
Yeah.
the Samaritan Jewish religion is basically an intentional reversal or negation of actual Judaism at the time.
Right.
So if you fast forward around whatever it was, 1400 in the Christian religion, Protestantism did the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Right. So the Catholic religion, it's sort of a shell of its old self. So this new revival comes and says, we're going to do everything opposite of you.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened in Islam, where you had your traditional four madhabs and tariqas, and that were considered the default. That's just what Islam is.
Yeah.
And then you have a new movement comes out, or maybe multiple, but a new pious movement comes out and says, you know, we're going to try to actually revive this thing, and we're going to do everything opposite. We're going to intentionally almost go against the grain of everything that this old traditional way does, and was represented by the Ottomans. So that era where the Jews underwent this era in which they have no impact in the world, they're a vassal state, oftentimes a colony. Maximum, they fight for their freedom.
Yeah.
Like the Maccabean revolts. But ultimately, the life at that period of time is just to argue amongst yourselves. And so there was a truth, I believe, that there was a truth between the Sadducees and the Pharisees. Both of them had some aspect of truth. The Samaritans were complete innovators, in my opinion, the way I look at how they developed. The Essenes, they said goodbye to everything, and they went out in the desert, and their job was just to copy the scrolls, nothing else, and live out in the desert.
Yeah.
So it was, and then there were other groups too that I'm not mentioning. We're in that same era, it seems. And I think it's very advisable for people to take this advice from people like yourself and myself. Don't soil your heart with jidal, argumentation. Just people are going to do what they're going to do, and then you do your thing as much as we can.
Yeah. So that's one of the cons in England. It's becoming less the case, but it was, one of the. But otherwise, England's a good country for ilm. Like there's ilm, there are ulama there. You know, there was. I remember back I was like 16 maybe. There was people teaching Qatrun Nada and things like, grammar and stuff like that in Birmingham. There was a sheikh, I think I was 16 or 15. He had just finished teaching, reading Tafsir al-Razi, and he had started 50 years ago. Right? So he's, we're going, that's like, so starting like almost like 80 years ago. It was in Birmingham, right? So alhamdulillah, there's ulama, and, it's good, alhamdulillah, and a good connection to the Muslim world, etc. So anyway, so I was 19. I went to Jordan. I was kind of working in Sunni Path and teaching Arabic and doing other things under Sheikh Hamza Karamali's tutelage. And then there was other people I met. So Sheikh Ali Hani, if you're familiar with that name. So he's basically Sheikh Nuh Kala recently, published his translation of the Quran. Sheikh Ali Hani calls that my translation. Like it was like a 17-year project of the two of them, working kind of like ijtihad in tafsir and ijtihad in English. It was like a very, very long time, very, very thorough. And so Sheikh Ali Hani is this very, very special, individual. He a very, very Safi individual, one of these people like just born pure, subhanAllah, wa la nuzaki Allahi ahad, but very pure person. So he was kind of master of Nahu, Sarf, Balagha, and tafsir, genuinely kind of amazing istihdar, like amazing kind of like the ability to just quote like any tafsir. Basically, it was pretty amazing, and really very, very like just like solid research. He doesn't, so that was one of my key. I was into linguistics. Like my family is a kind of a linguistic family. My uncle's a like He's in charge of like what's it called? Cornish poetry. That's like a dead Celtic language in
Wow.
England. Yeah, my mum speaks
Ajib.
like 4 languages. My dad spoke like 5 or 6 languages. So language was always in the family. So like when I got into Nahu, I was like, yeah, this might like I might it's something that I kind of liked a lot. So I got into Nahu and Sarf and Balagh and things like that. That was pretty and tafsir
Hmm.
and pretty so that was a kind of a major thing in my life. And then Hadith as well, Sheikh Hamza Bakri, if you're familiar with the name.
Of course, yeah.
Sheikh Ahmed Snowbar. So I roomed with Sheikh Ahmed Snowbar. I lived in his house for
Oh,
in
mashallah.
yeah
Mashallah.
yeah, embarrassed myself a few times because you're young, you don't know the culture, you don't know what you're doing. So alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So I was and he was very fond of my brother. He taught my brother back in the day in like 2001 or something like that. So yeah, I studied with him. I studied with Dr. Sheikh Ahmed Hassan, Sheikh Hamza Bakri, and Dr. Osama Nimr as well, and Dr. Ali Zino. He's there. All of them, I think, are in Turkey now, with a few exceptions. So yeah, I studied with them, and that's basically it.
And
Yeah.
tell us, do you advise people to make hijrah to Malaysia?
So okay. So number one, hijrah in general, I think is a very good idea. Okay, so if I think of myself, right, there was Farid Dingle at the age of 15, I guess, 15, 16. I was in a high school in the middle of nowhere where there's no Muslims,
Hmm.
and it's very difficult. And basically, I survived by having no friends. Like basically, it's just like that's what I did. It's like, as my brother once said, he said, you can't have a halal conversation with a 14-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's like everything's just like ridiculous, right? So you're going to have to be just very, very selective. And so, like, if I look at myself, like, there, I was trying to do the very best I could do. I'm basically doing in class, go and pray, go home, listen to Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, Sheikh Muhammad Yaqubi, Sheikh Nuh Kella, Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, just like on the cassettes. There's like old school style, and that's it. So that was like me doing that by myself. And then when I went to Birmingham, and I was like, oh, this is suddenly easier. Like, why is it easier? Like doing the same thing, but it's just like easier to do what is right, you
Hmm.
know? And then going to Jordan, I was like, oh, it was like somebody turned the lights on, It's like there's certain things, let's say you're trying to work on yourself, trying to find out your own problems, but like it's just not the same.
SubhanAllah.
So being around good people, this is just like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullah, right? Wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen, right? Fear Allah, like put a barrier between yourself and hellfire, and be with people who are true. So it's not like, when people kind of like, oh, it's just I'm struggling in my deen. It's like, well, look at your friends, right? Look at the people around you. So alhamdulillah, like, in general, I certainly advise people wherever they are to like actively sacrifice things in their life for their company. Who are you around day and night, basically?
Hmm.
Look for good friends, marry the right person, surround yourselves, have your kids around good people, right? Now, which country that's in, that's something else, right? So, it's like it's so in Jordan, there's also things happening. In Malaysia, there's also some things happening. In England, there's yes, where are you, right? You could be in all sorts of places. So, I remember once coming from Jordan, and I go to a masjid in was it in London? Yeah, in London, and it's like more full than the masajid in Jordan.
SubhanAllah.
And so it's like, well, if you were with that small group, you might be better off than somebody else. One of my friends said, I was raised in the streets of Amman, and you know what that's like. Like he
SubhanAllah.
was like it's not good, yani. So same thing, Egypt. There's going to be these places where it's like, wow, and then there's so when you say hijrah, you say, yeah, right? Hijrah is first of all, you're trying to change yourself, number one. Number two, on a micro level, who is around you, who you exposed to, right? And so that's really, really important. You continue exposed to the wrong people, it's going to affect you negatively, whether you like it or not, right?
In
So
Malaysia, are you with some Western community, Western expats?
okay, so Malaysia, I'm coming to Malaysia, like I'm 38, right? My oldest son is 10, going on 20. Um, and we're coming from California. So it's a totally different picture. So like there's Farid Dingle at 16 going to Jordan, like I want Dean. I want a very specific flavor of deen. Like I want 120%. I'm not interested in anything else. You know, that's what I went for, right? As opposed to, I'm a parent. I was living in California. My wife's originally from the Bay Area, so we were in California. COVID basically 2020 we went to California. So 2020 to 2025 we were in California, and we're like, do I want to raise my kids in California? That's the question as a parent, right? And then as a parent, where do I want to raise my kids, right? What works in terms of education? What works in terms of I don't know, stability, what works in all these kind of things, right? So, Malaysia is not paradise. It is not a Muslim utopia, but it works for us. That makes sense, It's a kind of like a Ba'alawi hub kind of thing. Like I'm not Ba'alawi, but like, it's like it's like the Ba'alawi kind of, I quite, the Ba'alawi like outer circle, if you know what I mean, is very appealing. They have this very good skill of da'wah to non-Muslims and Muslims. And so that's the kind of ambience that my kids are in, if that makes sense. Like they'll see these kind of things, and that's good for some people, right? They speak English, which is great. So, talk about people going to Turkey, it's like I know somebody who accidentally got married to a Turk because they couldn't even go to the hospital because nobody spoke English, I had a friend who studied in Sudan. Like he got like super sick. It was really, really hard, People who go out to Mauritania, like like we'd love to raise your kids in Mauritania, but it's like that's rough. It's an issue. So I saw Jordan, which is like Middle East developing. It's not a wealthy country, right? But it's a developing country. I didn't really have a future there, and I don't think my kids would have a future. They wouldn't have a dunya future, if you know what I mean. Like they can't just like turn up in Jordan and be like, hi, I want to study here and work here and be like part of this world. It's kind of difficult. Whereas Malaysia was very different. Like Malaysia is a developed country. It's not a developing country. I was just in masjid again in the Bay Area, and someone's like, oh yeah, I was in college in Malaysia. I did my undergrad in Malaysia. It's like a degree like any other degree, right? It's not an Ivy League, that's true, but it's like it's a real degree. So you feel like you can be part of the country. Even myself, like I came here, like in Jordan, Sheikh Amjad Rashid, my teacher, he said, Farid, you don't have a future in Jordan. Just letting you know. Like you can come here and benefit, but you don't have a future here, right? Whereas Malaysia, I turn up and I meet a lecturer at the university, and he's like, Farid, please, we got this Ikhwani Shafii thing in the university. Please come do a master's PhD and come lecture. Like I have a future.
Yeah.
So like that's very different. That's very kind of different when someone says, please welcome to my country. You fit into this situation. And I came with the intention of like I'm gonna kind of be a nobody in Malaysia and just do da'wah in the West. Oh, you have a cat there, mashallah. I have a
Yeah.
like
We got two running around here.
6 cats. What kind of cat is that?
This is I think a regular American house cat, right?
Doesn't he have really big ears?
Huh?
Doesn't he have really big ears?
Yeah, he's got pretty big ears. And they're pretty active. They eat so much and they run around so much.
I don't know. My cat just gave birth, so we have like 4 kittens in the house.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So anyway, what I was saying is like where do you fit in the dunya? So I can imagine like I can imagine a kid, like say I took my son, I said, listen, we're going to go to Mauritania. He could either sink or swim, and he's probably going to sink. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you can imagine he coming back saying, Dad, I'm 16, or I'm 18, I haven't done any of my high school, or I'm 23, I haven't done a degree, and you didn't set me up in the dunya. You didn't give me a choice. Whereas as a parent, right, I can't fast forward decisions for my kids, right? So you want to put them in a situation where they're like, hey, did you give me a fighting chance, right? So like, did you give me enough deen and dunya where I can like see what's going on, make some choices, as opposed to like be in the middle of nowhere and have that whole resentment, So I'm new to Malaysia. Been here 6 months, right? It's not utopia. There's a lot of funny things happening. Um,
Is it
there's
Kuala Lumpur?
Kuala Lumpur, yeah. But again, it's like by default Ba'alawi kind of thing. It's nice. There's lots of majalis, lots of things in English, lots of shuyukh. Sheikh Alauddin Bakri from the Bay Area, he just came to us. It's fantastic. We went to have dinner with him. The kids loved it. So it's a good place so far for raising kids. That's the picture I see.
Yeah.
Like it's easy.
And
it's an easy choice. Yeah.
You say 60% Muslim or 50%?
So in K, well, where I am, it's probably like 30, 40.
30, 40. That's good enough.
Yeah. But there's the other end. So like right now it's like Chinese New Year and Ramadan at the same time.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
It's like, and I would prefer like I mean I don't mean to like how to say it, like I prefer like the Chinese or the Indians, they have a lot of good akhlaq, they don't have trashy akhlaq, right? So that's the whole thing is like I taught at an Islamic school in the Bay Area, right? And that's tough. That's very tough. Like teaching kids, just forget fiqh, forget like hijab, just like that's rude. Like what does that even mean? What is haya?
Yeah.
What is they don't even, that's kind of awkward,
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like it's just Eastern. It's like that's just, you don't walk or talk like that. Why? I don't need to explain. It's just understood. It's just understood. So it's nice. The kids, they learn, respect, they learn this kind of just ambient everywhere, wherever you go. People are nice, and so it's good. But again, I don't say, hey, everybody come to Malaysia. That's not a everyone's, you're a parent, or you're as a parent, you got to work it out. You're the captain of your ship, and you can't say, you can't do taqleed, right? Al-mujtahid la yuqallid, right? You have an ability, your kids, your situation, yourself. You got to work out, what's good for you, what's a good situation. You can't just say, hey, Sheikh so and so did it, I'm going to do it. It might not work out for you. You might not like it. International schools are pretty bad throughout the world, right? I know people got, like my friend, his kids got really messed up in international schools in in the Middle East. It's like crazy idea, like whole, so it's pros and cons, right? Everyone's got to work out the pros and cons and work it out for them.
And also I want to say that American culture, Western culture in general, is a superiority culture. So they actually look down on other cultures, whereas Indian, Chinese culture, there's a little bit more humility in their culture. They're not going to look down on people in the same way.
That's true.
Yeah.
So general people are humble, they're kind, they're respectful. It's a big thing. So 100%. So even let's say, European culture, Europeans, I think, they're a little bit more sane than English people, Americans, I think. But again, the same idea of like, like we're French, we're here to save the world because everyone's, barbaric,
Yeah.
So it's true. And they feel comfortable, like Malaysians and Singaporeans, they seem comfortable in their skin. Like they're not doing sujood to the West. They're not doing sujood to the West. So that's when I was in Jordan, it was very much like that. It's like, oh my God, you're white. Like you're right. Like that's how it is. That's everything you do is right. Everything you do is good. You can do whatever you want, You speak English. Oh, that's amazing, right? Everyone's trying to speak English, all these kind of things. Where here it's like, yeah, I can speak English and I can write in English and I have a PhD from Oxford. Yeah. And I came back. I didn't need to, So they're very comfortable in the modern world. They've had more time to adjust.
Yeah.
They are educated by default. They're not, they're proud about themselves. They don't have this inferiority complex. They're not looking down on these people or those people. So it's nice. Has a lot of pros. But again, is it super conservative? Yeah, not really. Is it Tareem? It's not Tareem, right? So pros and cons, right?
If you don't mind, we want to get into some questions, current day masail that are coming up. That people are asking.
I'm not a mufti, I'm just a teacher, so inshallah, if I know the answer, know the answer. If I don't, inshallah.
Sounds good. الترحم على البدع what is the hukum shari, the Sharia ruling on making dua for someone who died upon a heretical belief?
So heretical meaning kufr?
No, not out of Islam, but within what we would call al-bid'ah al-mufassiqah.
Mm. So that means that's like making dua for somebody who died in sin, right?
Yeah, but this like so similar to that. Yeah, I guess bid'ah mufassiqah would be in aqidah, which would be worse than sins of
Yeah.
the limbs.
So, so I'm gonna do my due diligence. Say I don't have a nas on that. I don't have a text in my head on that, so I'm gonna stop answering. If, on top of my head, I'd be like, yeah, there shouldn't be a problem. The default should be a problem because you're making dua for somebody. Can you not make dua for somebody who is a fasiq mu'lin lam yatub, right? Somebody who he is sinful and he did sin openly, and he, as far as you know, he didn't make tawbah, right? So should you not make dua for that person when they're alive or they're dead, right? By default, you should. But Allahu alam, I'm going to do my due diligence one and do my job and say, La adri, I don't know. And we'll try and find a nas on that, inshallah.
Sounds good. The issue of intentions, and this is one of the thorniest questions in theology. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about intentions using the word kasb. Kasb. Not khalq. When it comes to actions, Allah uses the word khalq, creation, and he attributes it all to himself. But when we make intentions to do things, Allah uses the word kasb, and he attributes it to us. So therefore, is it fair to say that intentions, or now the question becomes, what is the difference between al-khalq wal-kasb?
Okay, so it's which side of the coin you're looking at, right? The one thing I like to do is they say let's look at it on an even deeper level, right? And forgive me if we're going way off. I'm not familiar with your audience, right? But let's look at it an even deeper, a deeper level. So, do you exist, or are you existentiated? Meaning, it's like, are you? Does Allah holding you existence, or do you exist? Say, well, from my point of view is I exist, right? Here I am, and here the phone is, here's the screen, right? From another point of view, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is holding it in existence, keeping it in existence. He's existentiating it, right? So the same thing, right? From one point of view, kasb is khalq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates all of these things, right? He's the al-mutafarrid bit-ta'thir. He's the only one that is the only source of all causes, and everything else is just his effects, right? This whole thing is all the creation of Allah, right? Every single thing is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So show me what else has been created, right? So every single thing, our intentions, our thoughts, our motives, our actions, our physical bodies, every single thing, this is khalq. However, right? This is a subtlety, and again, forgive me, stop me if I'm going off in a tangent. This is way too much class, right? Okay, now we have the Jabariya, right? Fatalists, right? So you say, what is the difference between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating this phone here and then creating gravitational potential energy, and then it drops and goes bang? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, silly phone, why did you do that? Right? What's the difference between that and me? You put a date in front of me 1 hour before Maghrib, and it looked so juicy and so nice, and I just ate it, you know? But that was also created by Allah. So what's the difference? The difference is I don't feel forced, right? There's this fundamental complexity in the way we work and the way that, let's say, for example, object, the tree blowing, right? So a fatalist sees the tree blowing in the wind, the ball dropping, my good deeds or my bad deeds, they're all the same. They're just pointless things that Allah chose to happen. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala arbitrarily, with no hikmah, labels somebody good and somebody bad and puts people in heaven and hell for no reason, right? And so there's no point in trying, and there's no logic to it. It's just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does what he wants. That's it. But that's not true, because you and I experience choice. And you and I, we experience, like, I wanna punch this guy. Like, he's really just being really annoying to me. But I'm gonna do it, but I don't, right? And there's situations where like I feel like I can't control myself. We know the difference between control and not control. You can't stop your heart beating, but you can zip your lip, right? You can give charity, or you can control what you do and what you don't do. And you go through these moral choices. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't show us the other side of the coin, we don't see qada and qadar happening, right? We don't see Allah force it. We don't see the force that we don't feel forced to do things, right? We are forced to freely choose. And that's the side of the coin that we feel. And because of that complexity, the situation, the fact that we taste this freedom and we feel this freedom, number one, you and I both also get upset with people. Like if you came and hurt me or harmed me or insulted me, I'd be upset with you because I know that you chose to do it. And you say, hey, it was qada and qadr. I say, I know, Habibi. From the reality, qada and qadr, but I know how you experience it. I'm upset with you, right? If I didn't do something like Farid, you said you're going to come pick me up at the airport, and I'm like, yeah, I lost punt, didn't destine it, sorry, and you're like, well, did you turn the car on or something? Like something happened? Is like, no, I just was waiting for destiny to bring me. You're like, bro, you and I both know you just got to get up, turn the car on. Well, if there's a problem, okay, but that's not how we experience things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it sufficiently complex and sufficiently subtle that we are, yes, it's all khalq, it's all creation. Allah's qada and qadr, every single thing. Allah is the only one who's making things happen. That's true, including our intentions and our works, all these things. But that gap between the way we experience it and reality creates the meaningful ascription, the kasb, that it's you did it, right? And then or you didn't do it, or you did the right thing, you did the wrong thing, right? And again, go back, look at your life, right? There was a situation, you were at the airport, it was hard to make wudu, and you were like, fellas, nobody's watching, Mitch won't pray, won't do it, right? Go back and see, was that destiny? Yeah, it was destiny. Did you feel forced? No. Okay. The other time, for example, sisters like, hey, you weren't wearing hijab, okay? And you said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to wear hijab. It's tough, it's hard, it's embarrassing, it's awkward, I'm going to be labeled, whatever it is. And you went out and did it. That wasn't hard, sister. It was hard. If you didn't feel forced, if you felt forced, it wouldn't be hard. It would just happen. Right. So she went through that difficulty. It was difficult. It was embarrassing the first day, the second day, things happened. Her hair was itchy in the summer, all these things that happened. And she's like, no, I did what was right. I remember that experience. So on Judgment Day, Allah can do what he wants. He can throw me into hell or do whatever he wants. But at the end of the day, like I did certain good things and I did certain bad things. And I chose to do those hard, difficult things. And they were hard because I didn't feel being forced, right? And it was, and I took the easy route sometimes, and I did what was wrong, and I regret that, and I know that it's mine, and I don't feel that when Allah's going to tell me, hey, why did you do that? Say, hey, but didn't you destine it? So yeah, I know, but you didn't feel that, So we see that in other people, we see it in ourselves, because it's not like a tree blowing in the wind. It's more complex than that.
Very good.
Wallahu a'lam.
Very good. Thank you very much. Next question says, how should Muslims feel when a Kaafir is fighting a major sinner?
A Kaafir is fighting a major sinner.
Like an oppressor or a major sinner or someone who does harm, a Muslim who harms the ummah.
Okay. So again, we have to look at two different things, right? So number one, as somebody who has Iman is of the awliya of Allah. Okay, if you have Iman, as far as I know, you have Iman, you might be killing people, harming people, all these things. Two things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is too just to let those things slide. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring every single person you put in jail, you tortured, you did this, every single thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring justice to it. Okay? But at the same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you Iman, and He told me that you gave me, that He gave you Iman. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, hey, Farid, this person in 1 billion years and 1 trillion years will be in Jannah. So what do you think about him, Farid? Right? Allah's going to ask me, what do you think about this person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I shouldn't have pointed myself, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I've given him Iman. And I told you that I gave him Iman. And I also told you that I'm too just to let any of his oppression slide. So I will take care of every single thing. Don't worry. Every single thing, every single person he wronged, I will make sure that is put right. But I also will send this person to paradise if he dies on Iman. So what's our approach to that person is that we have esteem for that person. We should have esteem for that person. That person has Iman, right? And it's an amazing thing, right? So as opposed to a kafir, right? Now maybe that kafir is going to become Muslim tomorrow, inshallah. But as far as I know, he knows the truth and has rejected the truth. That's as far as I know. Maybe he doesn't know the truth. That's between him and Allah. Maybe he will accept the truth. But as far as I know, he knows the truth and he has rejected the truth. And Allah has told me, I have not accepted this person. So now what? So what are you going to do? Are you going to accept him? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rejected this person. So now you're like, oh, I really like this person, they help the environment, or they're always talking about oppressors. Like, no, that's not the reality, right? That's not the reality. You need to look at the bigger picture, right? So the problem is people are kind of clouded by two things. You don't really know what Iman and Kufr is, right? That's number one. And number two, you don't honestly feel people they've seen so much oppression, right? And again, who am I to talk? Was my dad tortured in a prison in Syria? No. Did my mom disappear like when she was 15? No. Did this happen? Can I walk through a street and say in every single neighborhood they have somebody who was tortured or disappeared? No, I can't say that, right? And so who am I to talk? I accept that. But we have to have the iman that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-adl, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not let a single thing go on, a single injustice go unavenged. He will bring every single thing and he will say, this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened, this. The smallest things that we don't even imagine and the big things. And we have to have the iman and understand that will happen, right? I remember this girl at school, she asked me this question because of that, it was all about these issues about I can't remember what was happening, like rape in war and these kind of things, right? So she asked the question, will Allah make her okay again? Like your honor has just, taken away in such a horrible way. Like, will Allah ever make it okay again? And so we asked the question, can Allah do anything? Yeah, Allah can do anything, right? Allah can do anything. So in the dunya, Allah can fix things. And you step into Jannah and khalas, right? Mm-hmm. You step into Jannah and the person will be asked in Jannah, did you ever experience anything ever? I said, no, I have no problems whatsoever, right? And so the person, so we have to have that iman, right? We have to have iman. So our iman means I love iman, I hate kufr, I hate sin, and I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put everything right, right? And so yeah, it's confusing. Now, how does it get super confusing? Because what's a sohbah? Your sohbah screen, and there's good people and bad people. They give you a certain paradigm of good and bad, right? So someone like yourself, right, with a religious and psychological background, if you look at a kafir, you really understand who they are. Like it's kind of like the psychology of a kafir is really messed up. Like it's really, really messed up. It's like somebody who's like, that they run an orphanage and they help people, but they have kids that are like buried under the floorboards and tortured to death. It's like you're like two-faced. Like you're not a straight person. Like you might outwardly do certain things that are nice and help people, but you're a really bad person at heart, right? That's the reality of a kafir. Like it's really, really bad. If you went inside it, you realize it's really messed up. Mm-hmm. Whereas for the believer who says, you know what, I'm a really bad, oppressive Muslim. I hurt people and I've hurt people and I keep hurting people and I don't pray and I don't fast, but I do accept that I'm wrong. And I do accept, like, Allah's talking to me and I'm like, yeah, you're right. So there's a fundamental difference there, right? And so the person who's continually exposed to Western media or even whatever their friends, like you keep processing things in the wrong way, right? And so Iman and Kufr are not the same, right? They're not the same. And so it's, we have to understand those things. Wallahu a'lam.
Very good. For everyone out there, you can put your questions in the comment section. If you have Shafii specific questions, which we have right now, we have one right now. Please put those too, because we rarely have a Shafii faqih on who could answer questions in Shafii fiqh. Here's a Shafii fiqh question. Is cryptocurrency a valid investment in the Shafii school?
So it's not, so it takes a while when you say the Shafi school, we're talking about a large body of scholars working with a particular system, and they will. It takes a while for them to have like the mu'tamad, like what is a relied upon position, right? So at face value, I wouldn't advise it, and I would say no, right? Is that the actual Shafi school? It's going to take some time for that to happen. Like, what is the actual answer? But the default is no. Fiat currency is kind of like, it's just about acceptable. We don't have a choice. That's how it is, right? But at least it's universally accepted, as opposed to cryptocurrency. There's some major issues there, and so it should be avoided. Wallahu a'lam.
Mhm. Okay, next Shafi'i question. Is an interesting question. In Salah, if a person intends to pray 2 rakas of the traveler prayer, but then realizes he did it after after he opened Salah, realized I'm actually not traveling, so I need to pray 4. Does his intention to pray traveler negate his ability to pray not traveler?
It's a good question. Off the top of my head, I would say no, it doesn't. So it's fine. You can just do 4 rakats, but again, I have to double check. So you know how we work. Basically, this is the difference between fatwa. What's it called? Sometimes I'll spend 4 hours just to find. I spent 10 hours once. I spent 10 hours to find a question, the simplest thing, and I couldn't find it, so no answer. So key concept with traditional Islam is like, it's not what the Sheikh fancies. Like, what do you think? I don't know. It's like, well, do you have a nas? Like, do you have a text? This book, that book, that. But the other things, do you have a text for it? No. Okay, then you gotta wait. So off the top of my head, I don't recall the mas'ala. It would seem like it's fine, but I have to double check. Allahu a'lam.
Okay. Are synthetic alcohols considered najas in the Shafi school?
Yes, that's the default in the Shafi school, is that it is a liquid inebriant. So even though we're not interested in the fact that it's alcohol, we're interested in the fact that it's a liquid that affects your mind significantly, right? That's what we're interested in. So it's going to be najas. So therefore, you got some serious problems there, right? So have some Shafi'is said it's overlooked completely? Yes. Is that problematic? Particularly when you're talking about something that's got a high content, yes. But we also have the ikhtiyar in our school, a position in the school of Imam Muzani, who said that wine is not filthy to begin with, right? That's a very minority opinion, but so that means like wine, let alone ethanol or methanol, it's not necessary to begin with. So that has, so practically speaking, what I've seen the Shafi'is do is basically wash things off when they're practically can be done. But when you get to like a macro level, like buying car fuel, like I don't know what percent alcohol in car fuel, like it's a lot, right? It varies. It's a huge amount. And so, and if you got it into really the food industry and production, you're going to see ethanol in ridiculous amount of things, right? Obviously, the default is if you don't know the details, everything's pure, right? But like if you were to actually now start researching in industries, we use alcohol for so many things all the time, right? So, Allahu alam, the default is it's not pure and should avoid as much as possible. But some scholars have said it's unconditionally overlooked because of just widespread. Some, and so we should just try and avoid what's practical to avoid without going to extremes. Allahu alam.
Very good. Can you define al-mu'allafatu qulubuhum in the Shafi'i school?
So in the Shafi school, these are Muslims. These are not non-Muslims. Okay, so these are Muslims who have weak iman, or Muslims who don't have weak iman, but if you gave them money, the non-Muslims around them that they affect will become Muslim. So number one, they have to be Muslim. Number two, it's either weak iman or the other people would become Muslim by seeing them receiving money. Okay, but it's must. So in the Shafi school, the only non-Muslim you can give zakat to is al-amilin alayha, the people who are zakat collectors, right? So if you imagine a Muslim country, right, specifically a Muslim country, there's a Muslim ruler, and he appoints this AI specialist from Germany, Okay, look, you got to work on, this app or whatever it is. Okay, and we can pay him. The government says we're going to collect zakat and we're going to pay him his salary, which could be, I don't know, 20K a month, right? From zakat. That's fine. They can do that. We can't do that
Hmm.
because he's al-wilaya al-amma, he has the authority. The Muslim ruler has the authority. I don't have that. You don't have that. We can't just come and make up those things as we like. But the Muslim ruler, he can do that. But that's specific to al-amilin alayha, zakat collectors and zakat workers, things like that. But otherwise, you cannot, in the Shafi school, you cannot give zakat to a non-Muslim.
Very good, very good. We asked the crypto question, right? We covered that.
Yes, we did.
Okay. The next question was a practical question. What kind of visa can somebody live on in Malaysia?
There's number one. There's lots of them. So it's great. There's a special place for like a lot of English people come here for retirement. So they're like 65 plus. There's a lot of things that are available and easy. There's student visas. There's my second home. There's like very easy work visas where if you're working online.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's lots of things. Yeah, and you can just turn up. I mean, if you have a Western passport, you can just turn up for 90 days and that's fine.
Okay.
So you
Good.
turn up, for 90 days and yeah.
Tarawih in the Shafii school, what is its minimum and what is its ideal?
So if you prayed 2 rak'ahs of Tarawih, it would count, right? Each 2 rak'ah is a counts, right? But you didn't do Tarawih. Like Tarawih has 20 rak'ahs, right, in the Shafi school. So
Okay, so you just got
like
enough.
it's like you didn't do the whole thing, you know?
Incomplete.
It's like let's say it's like analogous to say somebody like you fasted 1 day of Ramadan. Does that count? So yeah. Did you fast Ramadan? No, right? So you didn't do the whole thing, but you did a part of it. Okay, alhamdulillah. And it's not unlike the Hanafis, right? It's not it's purely sunnah, meaning you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it, right? I was telling my son today, is that this a friend of mine, the Italian convert, he said that the Hanafis have it easy, like they have like a training program. What do you put for them, right? Like if you don't do these sunnahs regularly, you become sinful,
Mhm.
right? But for the Shafis and Malikis, right, it's like, hey, you don't want to put in the effort, you're not going to go anywhere because no one's going to tell you to do it. Like, so in the Shafi school, like, yeah, you just don't go to the masjid ever in Ramadan apart from Jummah. Don't pray Tarawih. Don't pray in the Sunnah. It's like, well, you're the one who's going to suffer, right?
Yeah.
So we should be careful. One of the Salaf, he said this. He said they used to say that whoever doesn't care about the Sunnahs doesn't care about the Fard. It's the
Mhm.
same kind of attitude. Like you're not really. So anyway, you should be careful to try and do as much as possible, right? And the key thing that I always focus on is it's not about we should never intentionally leave a sunnah, right? If you say it's sunnah to do something, any sunnah whatsoever, you should never intentionally leave it, but you should leave it for something that's more important, right? It's the key thing that many people don't get is like, okay, I've got to pray 20 rakats. Okay, but I have an exam tomorrow morning. Baby woke up 5 times. Like what's more important in Allah's eyes? I'm not interested in following my nafs. I'm interested in asking Allah, oh Allah, this is my life. These are the moments of my life. These are the opportunities of my life. Do you want me to A, pray 20 rakats in the masjid, B, pray 20 rakats at home, C, sleep, right? And then if we learn fiqh and we understand what Allah wants us to do, be like, actually, tonight you should be sleeping. Here you should do some, right? And so we never say, yeah, I'm just going to do less because I can. That's a
Mhm.
that's a that's a rude relationship with Allah subhanahu. That's like it's like your wife says, hey, can you drop me off at my mum's house? And you're like, no. And she's like, well, why not? It's like, because I don't have to,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Like, okay, what a nice relationship, right?
Mhm.
And you say, hey, can you move your feet? Because they're kind of like pointing to me. And she's like, do I have to? Are you going to divorce me if I do this? Like, no, I'm not going to divorce you. But it's like kind of rude. And she's like, okay, as long as you're not going to divorce me, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of a messed up relationship, right? So like, hey, Allah, are you going to throw me in hellfire if I don't pray Tarawih? They're like, no, okay, I'm not going to do it. Deuces, right? Like that's not an attitude. As
Yeah.
opposed to like the way we see fard and sunnah and less sunnah and higher sunnah is, yeah, Allah, I'm a weak slave. I have limited energy, limited time. What do you want me to invest this in? That's how we look at it, as opposed to, hey, what can I not do? That's not a good mentality, right?
Very good. Very good. Qada prayers and Tarawih simultaneously in the Shafii school.
Okay. Okay. So about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I started a WhatsApp group and it was like Shafii fiqh, okay? And then I realized most people are not Shafi'i or Hanafi or anything. They're just lost.
Mhm.
I'm just the average Muslim. So, like, I have two groups. If you ask me in one group, I'm like, hey, are you tulab ilm? Are you studying Shafi'i fiqh? Like, okay, come into this group and I'll answer your question here. But that answer, I give in another setting totally different, right? So let's talk to these two people. Okay, so I'm talking to so and so. You're studying interim and you don't know, and you're like, yeah, I want to do the best thing, and I'm studying fiqh, and I'm like, hey, I have qada prayers. Oh, Habibi, you cannot do a single thing other than qada prayers. If you sinfully miss prayers, like you just didn't used to pray in the Shafi school, it's not you can't pray sunnahs, you can't do anything. You can't be
Mm.
on this YouTube channel right now. You can't. Your food is minimum. Your sleep is minimum. If you can sleep for, 6 hours and 53 minutes, the 54th minute is haram
Mm.
because you have one thing to do, which is qada prayers, right? That's the Shafi school. Eat minimum, sleep minimum, work minimum, and that's it, right?
Mm.
That's you cannot socialize. You can't pick up the mushaf. You can't even go to the masjid, right? Because it's not obligatory. You can't do anything that's not obligatory, right? So that's the Shafi'i school. Well, at least that's the relied upon position in the Shafi'i school. Okay. Now let's talk to the average person. Habibi, you want to go to the masjid? Go. They're going to pray Tarawih? Yeah, great. Knock yourself out. Right. The average person, you talk to him about qada prayers, it's like you just made the deen impossible for me.
Mhm.
Right. I'm not saying change the deen. I'm not saying that. I like, oh, you don't have to do you don't have to do qada prayers. That's not a useful thing. I'm just going to say, I'm not even going to talk about that now. I'm just saying, Habibi, there's Muslims who are praying. Go and pray with them. Whatever they're doing, just go. Because I know what you're going to do otherwise. You're going to go home and you're going to start and you're going to do 2 rakahs, another 2 rakahs, and then you're going to pick up your phone. I know what you're going to do. Like, you are not going to go home and do like 500 rakahs tonight.
Yeah.
Right. So the person who's going to do 500 rakahs, Bismillah, go ahead. Right. That's what you should do. But the other person, like, just do whatever the Muslims are doing.
Mhm.
They're praying to go. They're praying right now. Whatever they do. Don't worry about other things because they don't have the average person. Doesn't have it's like Sheikh Abdullah Misra, and if you met him,
Mhm.
he said this. He said, had you asked me about Ertugrul, the series,
Yeah.
right? Ertugrul, right? He asked me about that 5 years ago. I would have said it's haram.
Mhm.
It's like good-looking guys, good-looking women. I would expose sometimes. It's like, how is this halal, right? He
Mhm.
says, if you ask me now, I say it's wajib. It's like a different, like, who are you? Who's the questioner, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I prefer you have a crush on what are called Abdurrahman Alp or whatever. I'm very happy you have a crush on somebody that represents Islam, as opposed to like what else, it could be like, so, something else, so it's what is the audience, right? One of my teachers in Turkey, people was a really kind of rough time in Turkey. The hijab was banned and all these kind of things. And the sheikh can tell people just pray once a day, just go when you go home, just pray once a day. Just Dhuhr or Asr, whatever, it's okay. That same sheikh told somebody else, said, if you ever miss a single prayer, even accidentally, make up all the prayers you ever did in your life. So imagine that, like, you go back and say, listen, I'm going to assume all my prayers are invalid, which you shouldn't assume, but just out of ihtiyatan, I'm going to assume all my prayers are invalid. I'm 50, so I'm going to do like 35 years of qada prayers. And if I ever miss a single prayer, I'm going to do them all over again. So two different answers, two different people.
Mhm.
So this is why, like, one of my teachers, well, he's like really against things like this, like YouTube or online answers. Like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
And there's a point, right? I don't do that. Like, but it is. I've being in the Bay Area, exposed to people, like, people are really struggling. And you tell them don't pray Tarawih. Like, what? Like, I'm never going to be in the masjid and any other time of the year. You know. And then you suddenly tell me it's haram to pray that. Go home and do qadas. Like, I don't even know, like, I'm not even going to do that. It's
Mhm.
not a real thing to do, you know.
Yeah.
It's like telling people don't marry a Christian. Like, well, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Like, I'm dating a Christian. Shall I marry her or not?
Mhm.
We've been together for 2 years. We live together, our finances together. Yeah, we can marry her, class, right? It's like, or are you talking to somebody who's like, hey, I live in a conservative country like this. I want to go to Brazil and invite the whole of Brazil to Islam through marrying a Brazilian. Like, it's a different, it's a different fatwa, different
Yeah.
reality of what's going
So
on.
the context of the person around it is going to completely change it.
Yeah.
What is the i'tikaf? Oh,
So just going back to that thing, so right, whatever takes people, Muslims, away from what other Muslims are doing is a huge problem.
yeah.
Go back to your thing about the beginning, you were talking about like different groups, right? This whole thing about sectarianism. So like Abdurrahman, Abdurrazzaq Sana'ani, he says this, like he was kind of like Shi'i inclined. And so he said, may Allah like disgrace a product of sale, right? Sila'a, an item of sale that doesn't make any money until it reaches 100 years old. He's talking about himself. Like, I have so much knowledge, but people are like, oh, Shi'i. It's like, what's your problem? It's like, I'm the teacher of Imam Ahmad. Like, Imam Ahmad traveled all the way to come and see me, to study with me. Like, I'm a very important person. Like, oh, because I have these Shi'i inclinations. Who cares? Honestly. It's like, that's really irrelevant. Just leave that to the side. And I saw that with my own eyes, right? I saw that with my own eyes that I was in Ramadan and we were going to go and distribute food at a Shi'i masjid. We're not even going to a Shi'i prayer. It's just using the location. The night before I was in a school, right? We wanted to join, the spirit of Ramadan is not just fasting, right? It's also sadaqah, right? So we're going to go and do sadaqah in Ramadan. And then one of the parents like, oh, it's a Shi'i masjid. It's haram. They're kuffar. It's like, bro. And then it stopped, right? And then shaitan won. It's like, what was the point? You didn't do anything, right? What was the point in that? So that's a key that I kind of, always espouse is like, you're never going to agree with everybody around you, right? You're never going to agree. You're going to have, and it's like, just team up on what you were shown on, al-qawasim mushtaraka, right? The shared denominator, what's the phrase? The shared common denominators and khalas, right? That's what you can do. So, so the Muslims are doing something, as long as it's not haram, go with them, It's not something crazy, just go with them because brother, sister, you're not going to survive by yourself. Right? So I'm not trying to like talk about myself, but like it was a freak, it's just Allah's inayah, right? I'm just like this one person in the middle of nowhere. Like that's what I'm doing. I come out of class, I go and pray. That's what I do. Right? You don't do that, brother. Sister, you don't do that. I know. Like you like most people, they need the group. And so anything that separates from the group, including that phone, that's what it's there for. Make you scared. You're just there, right? So like put the phone down, be with the Muslims. Right? They're not going to be perfect. It's not going to be amazing, but just be with the Muslims, Habibi. They're praying Tarawih, they're praying 8, they're praying 20. Who cares? Just be with them because I know what you're going to do otherwise. It's going to be you and the shaitan otherwise. If that's how it is, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very important just, keep with the group.
Very good. Good advice. So what is the i'tikaf in the Shafii madhab again? The bare minimum and the ideal.
Okay, so the bare minimum in Shafi school is very, very easy, right? So in the Shafi school, basically, you are pure, meaning you don't need to make ghusl, right? So a woman so if you're on your period, you can't do i'tikaf. Lokia, you can't do i'tikaf. A man or a woman who needs to make ghusl, you can't go into the masjid. So you go into the masjid and you intend staying in the masjid for the sake of Allah for a second and a half. That's it. That's it. You don't have to be fasting. It doesn't have to be Ramadan or anything. You don't have wudu. And you don't have to be doing ibadah. So you could just go there like, hey, I work from home. So there's a corner of the masjid and you're just there typing the whole time. And then, hey, you need a meeting, you can just leave. So if you made a vow, right? Lillahi alayya and a'takifa hadha Ramadan, for example, right? I made a vow that I'm going to do i'tikaf this Ramadan. Now you have an issue. It's a bit more complex. But otherwise, it's like, brother, just go, right? Go and do 5 minutes of i'tikaf. Just go and you've got a few hours till Maghrib or afterwards, just go there, right? And this is another beautiful thing that I heard. I was in this masjid and this person, the imam, sometimes imams say crazy fiqh things. He says i'tikaf could be obligatory. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I guess as a vow maybe. And he's like, no. He says, what if I can't do the halal unless I'm in a masjid? Like I'm struggling. Like if you go in i'tikaf, you'll see people with beards and topis and everything. Like you talk to this guy, and this guy's like seriously off. Like the way they live life is like it's wajib for brother or sister for you to be in this masjid now. Like you can't survive outside. At home, it's insane. It's like this girl's calling you the whole time. You just went in there and like leave my phone outside and khalas. I'm just like, please protect me, right? So that that's the ideal situation. Like you're there, and protect yourself, be away from the haram, right? But again, fiqh thing is just fulfill those conditions, and the ideal should be in Ramadan. You should do as many days as you can, last 10 days, last 20 days, etc., right? And as Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali mentions in his Lata'if al-Ma'arif, he says, like, it doesn't make any sense if you physically leave the dunya, but internally if you leave the dunya, like this point, right? It's like, so you're there and you're like, again, let's say you're on the phone the whole time, like you're not working, you're just on there on TikTok, like what are you doing? Or your head's there. It's like, no, you need to introspection, right? Let's do some dhikr, let's think about life, like who am I, what am I doing, right? Like this is the whole thing, and try and work on your heart, etc., do some dhikr, Quran, etc., right?
Speaking of that spiritual state, people reach for their phone all the time because of a fear of missing out on the socialization, the stuff that's being said on these different platforms and the news. And that oftentimes comes at the expense of a person's time with Allah, or even with their own selves, healing themselves by sleeping right or exercising or something like that, or benefiting themselves. How does a person spiritually get over the fear of missing out?
Okay, there's a lot here, right? But I think, again, with your background in psychology, right? These are all like systems. Like you keep doing that. Like how do you stop doing that, right? So what are we doing in fasting? You're learning how to say no. Like the second day of Ramadan, like the second day of Ramadan, I was like, oh, I want to make myself a cup of tea. I can't. And my naf's like, my naf starts squeaking, and it's like, oh, this small little thing, like, it's like, oh, you can't do that. So, what are we supposed to learn from Ramadan? It's like, are you able to say no?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you can't say no. You keep touching your phone. Leave it alone, right? Like, what's the difference between somebody keeps touching your phone and somebody who chews on their nails? Like in psychology they would like identify that's a problem, right? It causes problem. Like I keep scratching my pimples. I have like infections. Like Habibi, you need to stop, right? You need to stop scratching yourself. You need to do these things. So it is a psychological and spiritual disease, right? And so I was supposed to be doing this on my WhatsApp community. Was trying to do like a a group fast from the phone. Like just put the phone down for 24 hours. It's a Saturday. You're not at work. You'll be fine. And so that's on a lower level. That's one of these transferable skills that we're learning, psychological and spiritual things. Like, can you say no? Right? Can you say no to certain things? Right? On a higher level, it's very different. So basically, if we look at like all sins and all choices, it's basically we have just like a mass, right? An object, it has a center of gravity, right? That's how it moves around. Similarly, we have a center of gravity, a spiritual center of gravity. The issue is our center of gravity is off. Like it's not Allah, right? Things don't gravitate in our thoughts and our choices around Allah. So I'm touching the phone, right? I'm trying to find out what happened. There's a message on some group and I want to miss out a joke that I'm going to miss out. It's like, what is the center of your being? Is Allah the Kaaba of your psychology? Is it the Kaaba? Is he the Kaaba of yourself? No. Okay, why is he not like that? Because of the choices you make. So the hand teaches the heart. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to touch my phone. You say you can't. Why? Because not for the sake of Allah. Okay? So until I have an intention, I'm not going to pick my phone, right? I do this with my cats. Okay, I'm walking past the cats, and the cat is super cute. Like I love animals, so I'm like, stop. Why are you going to touch the cat? Right? Why are you going to touch the cat? What's the point? So whenever you do something for other than the sake of Allah, you are moving the center of gravity in the wrong place, towards pleasures, towards sense of missing out, showing off this or whatever, right? And whenever you do something for the sake of Allah, or you leave out something for the sake of Allah, you're pushing things back. So this is what you have to do: is the hand teaches the heart. So you say, what is the deen of Allah? I study my fiqh. What does Allah want me to do? Okay, and then most things in life, there's no like detailed thing about it. But the phone, what's the point of the phone? Can I worship Allah with it? No. Okay, I'm not going to touch it then. Until I have a niyyah, I'm not going to touch it, right? The other day, I'm getting ice cream with my kids. I like ice cream. It's hot, right? Malaysia's hot. I'm like, why? Do I need it? So if I eat the ice cream just because I can, I'm pushing myself away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making like the love of something else bigger than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I say no for the sake of Allah, it suddenly becomes easier. So now I have this pull, right? And then this pull, when that center of gravity is in the right place, everything goes right. You naturally gravitate towards not wasting time, gravitate towards being interested in good things, not interested in bad things, right? And then it becomes natural and easy to do what is right. But if you have the gravity, the things in the wrong place, because you keep making the wrong decisions. So again, people think, oh, I need to like meditate. No. You just need to start doing the right things. Like you actually have to do things, right? Sufyan Thawri said this. He said, like, I've never seen anything as hard as sacred knowledge and actually applying it. You know, like it's easy. For example, I could quite easily offer you the piece of pizza that's left, right? I might be able to do that, right? But do I want you to eat it more than I do? You know, that's iman, right? Like, so I'm sitting there like, I hope he doesn't eat the last piece of pizza. Habibi, that's not iman, right? Because you don't love for your brother what you love yourself. So you have to like, you need to go through these things one by one and be like, nope, wrong. And you live life in a certain way and you become a certain thing, right? So not in my jahiliyyah, but when I was young, I used to skateboard, right? So from the age of like 12 to like 16, I used to skateboard. So one thing skateboarders do is, you know what an ollie is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to ollie, like jump down, ollie right down, set of stairs, right? So for me to date, I still look at stairs as skateboarder does, because my nuts looks at things in that way, right? You know, looks at certain things in that way, right? I was with a bunch of non-Muslims, right? And they're like Nike, and we're like, in England we say Nike. They're like Nike, and I'm like, what does that mean? What they mean is, oh, there's a hot girl. Like, just do it. Like, so all you notice is attractive women, because that's how you focus, right? You make certain things, you share images, look at images, do certain things, talk about certain things. So all you'll notice is who's attractive around in the street. That's who you notice. The skateboarder, all they notice is, oh, handrail, look at that, whatever. The car guy who, Audi or whatever, A7, whatever, it's nice. Oh, look at the rims, whatever it is. Like, people look that you notice things based on how you live life. So you change the way you live life, like violently, right? You're like, I'm not going to do that. Put the phone down. Stop, right? And you have to do a lot of these things like, stop. What are you doing? Stop. What are you doing, right? And then bit by bit, your center becomes something beautiful and noble. And you're like, why do I care about that?
Yeah.
You know? But so it's a huge thing. Like, so, the phone is A, a waste of time. B, is like full of haram. It's like nonstop. So like you're gonna be holiday in Medina. Okay, you could trap it. It's like what kind of images come up, right? So it's I honestly believe, I tell people like, this is gonna be like the biggest enemy on on Judgment Day. You're gonna be like, and what the Prophet say? He said that وَأَبْغَضُ الْبِلَادِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَسْوَاقُهَا. The most hated of places to Allah are the marketplaces. Place. Internet is marketplace. There to make money, right? The very least, get your metadata and sell it, right? Use it for marketing, right? It is a marketplace. So you have to have the mentality of get in and get out, right? Image block is on. I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was like, even WhatsApp, even religious WhatsApp groups, like half of them, like, this is a waste of time, like a total waste of time. Like, you don't need to be doing that. That's not your priority right now. And subhanAllah, if you look at, if did you go to Mauritania?
No, I never went.
Right. But if you compare a Mauritanian education to, again, let's say Middle East, let's say Jordan, Egypt, Syria, right? Like, you can't just go around and start picking up books. It's like, these are your lines, Habibi. I don't focus on anything else. Like, there's zero distractions. And also you're going to be like doing 2 topics. So you arrive and you have your Nahu class and your Fiqh class. That is it. Memorize these things. Focus. So it's like, stop this whole craziness of like picking up books. Okay, what about a phone then? Right? It's like, oh, this fatwa. I'm on 10 WhatsApp groups of halal haram. I was like, that's not how we study, Habibi. That's how you go crazy. That like, that you need to sit down, be calm, right? Turn the phone off, turn the screen off, be with people, sit in a majlis, live in a city where there's shuyukh, right? Travel, leave your job, do something, get a piece of paper out, focus on one thing and do it. But otherwise, we're all like monkeys on cocaine, basically. It's like it doesn't make you in the deen and the dunya doesn't help.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of like very distracted, you know. And so that keep that calm, and then you apply that calm, right? Okay, now what am I going to do? I'm going to do this now. I'm going to do that, you know. And so going back to the question again was like, how do you get to the higher thing, right? What's it called? Your hand teaches the heart. You make a decision, you act upon something, right? And then you make decisions on what these things are. And sometimes you really have to go cold turkey on certain things, like your phone. Like my wife, again, this is like 4 years ago, she showed me a skateboarding video. I'm like, please don't show that to me. I can't look at it without shahwa. Like it's just too nice, right? So some things like don't show me that. You know, I can't look at that. Maybe like cars, like I can't, like that was your thing for like 10 years of your life, cars. It's like I just can't do that. I can't do it for the sake of Allah, so just cut it out. So you're gonna have to do that. Okay, Saturday, no phone, 24 hours, khalas. And then like, oh, Sunday, I got some messages for Monday morning, Monday, whatever, etc. You know, whatever it is. But you have to start doing things, and to think that it's kind of waste of time is wrong. It's a total waste of time.
Very good. Very good. Speaking of focus, if somebody cannot understand the Arabic language and they are in Tarawih, can they spend the time making dua? In other words, he's in the salah as a ma'moom following the imam. And while the imam is reciting in Arabic, can he spend his time making dua because he doesn't understand the Arabic anyway?
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat some of that question in a second, but you have kids, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I have
Okay.
4 kids.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk through you, okay? Just because I can't talk to anybody else, right?
Hmm.
So how old is your youngest kid?
Say again.
How old is your youngest?
5.
5. Okay. What's the name?
Tajuddin.
Shadee, right? MashaAllah. Well,
Yeah.
that's one of us. It's not
I know.
yours. Anyway, alhamdulillah.
Subki.
So
Yeah.
I remember, I'm sure you have these similar things. I remember once, like my youngest, she woke up at night, and I remember her walking across the landing at night, and I like kids, it's like a piece of you, right? Like it hurts you. Like if anything happens to them, it hurts you, right? So I remember my daughter crying at night, like I could feel it some of the top of my heart, right? So I want to talk through you, okay? Tajuddin disappears. Okay, may Allah protect him.
I mean.
20 years later,
Hmm.
and you've been looking at him for 20 years, right? This is a 20-year project trying to find this kid. And you are in Chile. And it's possible that 25-year-old boy or thing speaking down the road in Chilean, Spanish, is him. But you can't go on the street, because if you go on the street, someone else is going to see you. So the agent's person, this is a 20-year project. Like this is your son. He's like a piece of you. Like it's like eating at you the whole time. Where is my son? Where is my son? I want to see him, right? And it's like that person speaking at the end of the street that you can kind of hear, even though you don't know Spanish, right? And you don't know Chilean Spanish, and you don't know if it's even him. Like what do you mean you can't hear him? Like if it's possibly him, you're going to hear him.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a thing called shauq, right? Longing. It's like, I don't know what Allah is saying, but I really don't care. You know? It's a very different kind of thing. Like it's a different feeling, right? So we need to have that. Like these are the words of Allah. These is Allah's talking to me, my creator. I don't know what it is, right? It's like same thing with like weak hadiths, right? Someone's like, oh, the hadith's weak, who cares? Like, well, if the Prophet may have said that or may have done
Mm.
that, and you love the Prophet more than anybody else, like, what's your problem? Like, the way you look at it, it's like it may be a hadith, I don't know, right?
Hmm.
It may be a chance to connect with that person, right? So we really have to have that thing, like, if you think like what is ibadah, there's ibadah, which is on one level, like worship. Below that is adoration. Below that is love. Like if you don't love Allah, you're like 2 levels below. It's just like, So that's the big. This is a big thing. It's like, what are we doing, right?
Hmm.
The kalam Allah. Allah is talking to you, your creator. Like He is this thing, this being that is like the biggest thing in your whole life, and He's talking to you. So it kind of doesn't really matter what He's saying. on one level, right? Like it's just like he's talking. So I like, you know, if you could repeat the question again, like I just want to go now.
So
That's kind of good.
the person is a Ajami, non-Arabic speaker, cannot understand the Quran being said, yet so their mind drifts. So can they then spend that time in dua while they're in the salah, not understanding the recitation?
Okay, so you can spend the time in dhikr, but not dua. What I mean by that is I have an ijmali, a general connection to what is being said, right? I am continue reminding myself, Allah is talking to me. Allah might be commanding me. He might be forbidding me. He might be reminding me. He might be telling me about his signs, right? So you can have a general list of these things, right? Allah might be talking about hellfire. I heard the word nar. Okay, so in my head, all up for hell. I heard the word Jannah, right? So you can have some kind of connection. You don't have to go and do something else. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So it
I'm
should
going
be
to do
connected.
dua.
Yeah.
It should be connected, like in a general sense, right? Like in a general sense, like just like it's like how do you spell love? Like if it wasn't in English, it wasn't in French, if it wasn't in Arabic, like how would you spell it? It's a feeling. Like what so there's feelings that like that's a feeling. So you can have all of those feelings and you can roam in those feelings and like try and get an idea what's going on, right? And you're still there, like it's different. There's different connection. I remember like one sheikh, he was teaching in English, and people like, Sheikh, I don't really understand what you're talking about. I don't get it. So the Sheikh asked this guy, Arab, he says, do you understand English? He's like, no. Do you understand what I said? He said, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get the words, but I get what you're saying because I'm on the same wavelength. But if you're not on the same wavelength, you're not going to understand anything. So in reality, it's like, and so that why am I not on the same wavelength? Say, well, there's a reason you're on the same wavelength because you're on a 50,000 other wavelengths. You know what I'm saying? Levels of cynicism, levels of pride, levels of worldliness, right? Looking at all sorts of things. Your mind is all these things like, yeah, it's just completely off, right? Just completely off, right? And you're not gonna pick up on these things. Whereas, again, in my own experience, I remember specifically this experience, like Sheikh Ali Hani, my tafsir teacher, like it's like he brings the tafsir from level 1 to level 10, right? But there's levels beyond that he can't give because that's all still with the aql. They're still like looking at the lugha, looking at the word, looking at this, right? But there's something beyond that you can't give necessarily. I remember that experience, like, oh yeah, he can give me this, but he can't give me that. And there's other things that are going to be, different kind of relationship. Like there was this lady, my friend's aunt. She passed away like 2 years ago, and she was senile, right? So she like basically forgot everything. All she remembered is she loved the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Does she know Arabic? No. Does she know? All she remembers is she loves the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's like different kind of level. It's a different level, right? And you can quote every single hadith to her. She's like, whatever, but she's on another level, right? So there's this is what we have to really, one of my teachers said is like when you pray, you gotta like throw yourself in. Like it has to be love, There's a difference between like how you talk to somebody. Like when sometimes I'm busy and doing work, my kids are talking to me, right? And I'm like, Habibi, I don't want to be one of those people who talk to the kids without looking them in the face. So please don't talk to me. Like when I'm free, I'm gonna come and talk to you because I want to, like, you're gonna tell me about whatever it is. I don't care about it. Like I don't like, my kids used to be into Lego. I don't like Lego, but like I have to show you that I care, right? Like I have to get emotionally involved, right? Get emotionally involved. Like I don't care about Lego, but I care about you, So that's what the prayer is like. You're talking to somebody, And one of the Salaf he was described, I can't remember who it was now. He's like, when he's praying, it generally looks psychologically and physiologically like he looks like he's talking to somebody, Right? So there's a difference. Again, I don't know, in psychology, like what's happening when somebody acts, right? They have to do quite a lot of things like to act as if they're on their phone, as opposed to like, when you're on the phone, that there's a whole other things are happening. So that's what the prayer should be like, right? It's like you're in a zone, right? Allahu Alam.
Allah. Speaking, and now we shift over to fiqh a little bit. Calculations for the start and end of Ramadan is oftentimes attributed to the Shafii school. Is that true or false?
True, and it's false. So basically there's two ways in the Shafii school. There's two levels of Ramadan beginning and Ramadan ending. There's something what's called ala sabil al-umum and something called ala sabil al-khusus. Okay, so let's imagine here I'm in Malaysia. Okay, so it was Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Yeah, so Tuesday, whatever, 2 weeks ago. And they're like, oh, it's possible to see, that everybody please go out and see the moon, right? It was impossible. I don't know why they told people to do it, but it was like impossible. So anyway, what they're going to try and do is have some individual see the moon and then go to the Wali al-Am, the ruler, or the person who it represents, the Qadi al-Qada, the Chief Justice, the Grand Mufti, whoever he represents. And he's now what he can do is he's going to change it to a court case. Okay? And I'm going to go and I'm going to say, Your Honor, I saw the moon, right? And he's now going to raise this from the level of dhanni, which is, hey, you're a witness, it may or may not be wrong, to practically khata'i, that's because the judge said it, right? Hukm al-hakim yarfa al-khilaf, right? The judge, the ruling of the ruler removes this disagreement. So now legally it is Ramadan. What does that mean? It means you could be imprisoned or punished for not fasting. Somebody said that his wife was divorced on the first of Ramadan. She's now divorced, right? This Christian and the Jew in this Ottoman Empire, they don't even care about Islam. They had a rental contract that was for the payment had to be done by the third day of Ramadan. It's now due. These are legal issues, right? Like, what time is it in the US? That's a legal issue. That's not just an issue between people, right? So when you say ala sabil al-umum, that means what happens between is a court case. You go to the court, you testify as an upright male Muslim that you saw the moon, okay, and then the judge confirms it, and then everybody in his jurisdiction now has to fast. So that's called ala sabil al-umum. Now, do calculations apply there? Yes or no? In terms of ithbat, no. You cannot, by agreement in the Shafi'i school, you cannot turn up in the court and say, I've calculated that tomorrow is Ramadan, and I confirmed that with NASA and with this. That doesn't mean anything, right? That's like saying, oh, I don't have 4 witnesses that this guy committed zina, but I do have like 10 people who videoed it, and it's all live. So that's fantastic. That's not what we want. That's not how the process works.
Or
right?
worse than that, somebody would say, every Saturday night this guy commits zina for 51 weeks. On the 52nd week, pretty much he walked to the same club. Pretty much we've calculated that he's going to commit zina again.
Okay, how about this? We get half. Let's say how many 1.5 billion Muslims, right? Half of them are women. We're going to get half of those people, all of those women, to see a guy committing zina, and they go to court. So we're talking about whatever, like 500 million women said he committed zina. That doesn't mean anything, right? That's not the court process, right? So there's court process. Now, according to Ibn Hajar, so Ibn Hajar, in our late school, in Shafi'i school, we have kind of 2 great authorities, Ibn Hajar and Ramli, Shamsuddin Ramli. So Ibn Hajar, in general, he was accepted by, he's kind of authority for the Kurds, for the Dagestani, for the in the Haramain and in Yemen, generally, and he says, calculations are relevant in the court case, i.e. to disprove him. So now you come along, for example, we were in Malaysia, okay, and we were there spotting the moon. The moon set 2 minutes before sunset. So whatever you see on the horizon is not the moon. So I go to the court and I say, I saw the moon. According to Ibn Hajar, we say, no, that's scientifically impossible. You didn't see the moon. Condition of shahada. It's just like in the case of zina. This guy, the 4 people said he committed zina. The guy was in another country. So that doesn't make any sense, right? Or it's like, or you're describing like the 4 people describe him in 3 different places. That doesn't make any sense, right? So it has to be mumkin adatan, right? It has to be something that is normally possible. So to disprove the testimony, yes, according to Ibn Hajar. To prove it, no, according to both. Now Shamsuddin Ramli says no, right? Thubutan wa nafyan, it's mulgha. It's irrelevant in terms of proving it and irrelevant in terms of disproving it. So I'm in Malaysia. Scientifically, we know that the moon set on that Tuesday night, 2 minutes before sunset, and I go to that court. The court has to take my testimony. That's it. And you have to fast tomorrow. Okay. Now, which is more practical for people in the West, is ala sabil khusus, individuals. So I'm in Malaysia and my wife sees the new moon and she tells me. So I believe her. She goes to the court. The court says, Mikhail, I'm sorry. This is how it is. Like, I can't confirm yet. I believe you. So the judge believes her, but the judge cannot process that as a thing. So I fast tomorrow. She fasts tomorrow, and the judge fasts tomorrow, even though it's not Ramadan. Does that make sense? So ala sabil al-khusus, on individual level, it's Ramadan. But ala sabil al-umum, it's not.
Are you allowed to preach it?
You can't preach it. You can go and say, hey, Dr. Shadee, my wife saw it. She's like, what did it look like? He's like, do you personally accept it? So now you accept it. He doesn't. She does. And so it's on individual, right? My friend Dave, non-Muslim, he saw the new moon. I trust him. You don't. Okay. So that's an individual level. So now, the same. So when you're in a non-Muslim country, you only have ala sabil khusus. It's only individuals. So people come along and they say, it's Ramadan or it's not Ramadan. You mean that's all relative. That's all relative. You said, no, we have to unite. Yeah, but we actually can't because it's all relative.
Yeah.
I'm traveling with you and I say the Qibla is this way, you say the Qibla is that way. What am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, in respect to me, the Qibla is this way. In respect to me, right? Right. I think what you stepped on was urine. You think what I stepped on was urine. So you can't pray behind me. I can't pray behind you. In respect to me, you're not pure, right? So it's relative, right? So people don't understand that and they get really upset, right? That Aslan, before any other issue, even in a Muslim country, the time of Sayyidina Umar, you can still have Jummah on Ramadan on 2 different days.
Yeah.
Because, right, that can happen because it's on 2 different levels. So anyway, in a non-Muslim country, nobody has authority over you. You can't say Safina Society has established Ramadan. They've announced Ramadan. They can't, right? You know, you can do whatever you want. Safina Society says that this marriage is invalid. That's an opinion. That's all it is, right? You can't. Yeah, Safina Society says that so and so owes so and so this. That's your fatwa. That's your opinion. You can't do ilzam. You're not a Muslim authority, right? There's no ilzam. You cannot force me to do anything. So we're all, we're all by ourselves, individuals. So again, people that are like, oh, I feel really bad. It's like, that's just how it is.
Yeah,
that's just how it is. Right? I don't believe in any of the form of madhab. Okay, that's your own problem. What am I supposed to do? Right? I have my own opinion about everything, and sometimes I change it, and sometimes whatever. What am I supposed to do? I want to change madhab. I don't want to change madhab. What am I supposed to do? I can't force you to do A or B. Whereas when you're in a Muslim country, I don't really care about your personal opinion. It doesn't matter that you're Maliki, Shafii, whatever you are. That's fine, because when it goes to the court, he's going to decide.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where I always tell people.
It's like,
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, so that, so Imam al-Qarafi mentioned that in what's his book, Al-Ihkam, mentions that it's like a verse of the Quran being revealed, right? It's like, khalas, in respect to you, khalas. That's now the hakim, the ruler has done this, it's done now. It doesn't matter what you think, right? But you don't have that luxury in a non-Muslim country. Because there's nobody. People want to have authorities. Like, oh, can't we listen to so and so? You would love. It's like an orphan saying, "I wish I had parents," but you don't. I'm sorry, you don't. So it's like, I can help you as a brother in Islam. She can help you as a sister in Islam, but you don't actually have parents. I'm sorry. It's just how it is. You don't have an authority over you. Right? You're going to say something, Shaykh?
I was going to say that when people study fiqh and they understand fiqh, they don't really. They're not going to dispute that there's Ramadan could be on 1 or 2 days, because that's if Allah allowed for that room, and there's no wali al-amr, then that's not the place of that unity is binding. Unity is binding in our aqaid, in our akhlaq. Yeah. That's where unity should exist, in our beliefs, in our character, that we don't backbite each other, that we have the same beliefs about the Prophet ﷺ. But if Allah was to permit room to determine the qibla, then why would we force otherwise? Leave it be, and that's not the place of unity. So it's one of those things where the Islam of the person who doesn't study and the Islam of the person who studies, they're almost like 2 different religions.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a shame to say it, but it's actually true. I knew a guy who had a long riba discussion with me. long discussion on riba, saying that all of his loans were merely only on the interest of the inflation. So it's not interest.
Mhm.
When we got up to pray, this brother folded his pants all the way up, right? I said, subhanAllah, like this. And then he told people, fold your pants up, fold your pants up, fold your pants up. So on a
Yeah.
mas'ala that has discussion, he considered that mas'ala up here. But on something that far more important, it was downgraded in his eyes.
Mhm.
So you sort of chuckle that learning really transforms your priorities.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. So anyway, so going back to now the individual, I'm in America as an individual. So now can I so ala sabil al-umum. So we already mentioned that for the individual, I'm a female or a female witness, a non-Muslim witness, a minor witness, right? A kid sees the new moon, right? And you believe them. So we agree in the Shafii school, you have to follow them. Right? If you believe that person, you have to follow and you're going to fast. If you don't believe them, you don't fast. So therefore, we're going to have difference of agreement. So now, is the munajjim and the hasib, the person who does astronomy, is that the same thing or not? Here's a debate. So according to Shamsuddin Ramli and his father and others, and there's a precedent in that Shafi school, yes, okay, you are obliged to do that. So you're in America, you look on your app, you look on this app, and it's like, yeah, the new moon has been born and it has set after sunset. I'm going to fast tomorrow. Khalas. I don't even need to see it. It's not that's not necessary because we're not talking about the court case. We're talking about Ramadan or not. So according to Ramli, yes, you're obliged to do that. And Shihabuddin Ramli, specifically in his fatwa, was asked this question. He said, "Do you mean that it could be seen and you didn't see it, or does it mean even if it's not visible, like it's set 1 second after sunset, which would be impossible, right? It's the first night. It's like a tiny little slither, 0.1% luminosity. It's setting in the light of the sun. No one's going to see it. It's like, yeah, we're talking about, is it there? That's all. It's just wujud,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just right. It's there. He said, yeah, you have to fast. So basically, I look on my app, check with some bunch of other apps. Yeah, it's all the same. This, we can know all these things anyway. Where are the stages of the moon? Khalas, I know when Ramadan is, I know when Eid is. End of story. That's according to Imam Ramli, and that was adopted by the Egyptians for the last about 500 years. So that was the fatwa of the of Ramli and those scholars. Ibn Hajar does not agree. So Ibn Hajar's position is you cannot do that. You cannot prove Ramadan. So if you think it's Ramadan because a kid saw the moon, because a woman saw the moon, because a crop person saw the moon, because what else? A non-Muslim saw the moon, you're obliged to fast. But there's still a ru'ya. They saw something, right? They saw something, right? And that's again the position that Jumhur is like, why are you even looking at it's there or not? We're not even interested in whether it's there or not. We're interested in who saw it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So according to Ibn Hajar, and so this is kind of generally the fatwa, kind of the Meccan scholars, Medinan scholars, Dagestanis, Kurds, Hadarima, Yemeni scholars generally is, yeah, that's you're not obliged to, and you cannot fast based on the calculations. You can't do that, right? So
Where is
that's
Sheikh Ramli followed?
where in Egypt traditionally.
And who does Shem follow?
Shem doesn't follow anybody now, but Shem, I don't know.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. So Sham, kind of yeah, the Shafis have kind of struggled in Sham a lot in the last 100 years.
Really, I thought
But
there was stronghold of Shafii fiqh there.
not relatively speaking, no.
Mm.
So like yeah. So it's not, yeah. Well, I don't want to say too. We'll maybe have another conversation about that privately.
Yeah.
But like the Kurds, generally the Kurds, hardcore Ibn Hajar. Yeah.
Ibn Hajar.
Yeah.
We've kept you for a long time. It's been in almost more than an hour, I believe, and you have to have suhoor and you have your. It's what 4 a.m. or so,
Yeah.
right? What is it? 5 a.m. now.
Yeah.
So I feel bad taking you so long of your night. So let's stop here and let's try to do it again. If you ever come back to the U.S. or in the Western Hemisphere, let's try to meet up
Inshallah.
again.
And then I think there was one question or two questions I couldn't answer. Maybe if somebody could send them to me.
Sure thing.
I'll try and research them, inshallah ta'ala.
Sure thing. No problem. All right.
Jazak-
Jazakallah. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's, an honor being with you, and it's a lot of fun. I like seeing your cat as well. Nice to know we have other feline friends out there, inshallah.
Yeah,
Jazakallah khair.
all right. Jazakallah khair. Thanks for coming on. All right. Assalamu alaikum. All right. So this was one of the second Shafii scholars that we had on. Sheikh Ahmad Salim is another Shafii scholar. Shaykh Farid Dingle is answering questions in the Shafii school. It's important to, we are, I guess you can call it Madhabists. We take our deen from the four madhabs because you're going to be right. 100% valid. These schools have been assessed and assessed and assessed and assessed. If you take a modernist fatwa or another movement that's been around for 100 years, 200, it's speculation. They're just speculating. But they also always rest upon the madhabs before they turn right or left. And then I ask, why did you even rest on the madhab? Why did you quote a madhab as your basis and then say, you know what, yeah, but we're going to go left anyway? Like, what was the point? Just go left in the first place, right? It's like, take the hypotenuse rather than saying, oh, the madhab says this, and then we're going to go this way. Why did you even quote the madhab? To sound authoritative, to fool people into thinking that, oh, the madhabs say that. The madhabs are so powerful. It's unbelievable how powerful these schools of thought are. The amount of work that has gone into this and the amount of people who some say, okay, I don't understand the fiqh, but tell me who's behind it. Because that's also a form of authority too. That's a form of conviction too. Is that I don't understand the nuances and the discussion and the terminology. Just tell me who's behind it. And you can list 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 names of pious people who have been followed, who are imams, who have, in the past we're talking, which gives you more because they were even more pious, more pure, more knowledgeable in the past. Then you practice your religion on very solid grounds. You're not like shaky. You're not on a maybe. You're on a certainty. وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Don't take a position in which you don't have knowledge. I have to say that Madhabist has to become a word now because there are people who are kind of modernists, or they just dismiss them, or they don't follow them. It's to your detriment. You won't have Islam without these four schools of thought. Because what book of hadith, the Mus'haf itself, yes, we believe Allah preserves it, but who did the work in reciting it, checking it, writing it, checking what's written? Who are those imams? All ashab al-madhahib. So there isn't really Islam without it. That is what Islam is. Let's go to the dhikr of Wednesday, bi'idhnillah, although Asr has already come in, but let's recite it anyway. Yeah, maybe it's not yeah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا فتحنا لك فتحا مبينا ليغفر لك الله ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر ويتم نعمته عليك ويهديك صراطا مستقيما وينصرك الله نصرا عزيزا وكان عند الله وجيها في الدنيا والآخرة ومن المقربين وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نصر من الله وفتح قريب وبشر المؤمنين يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا أنصار الله كما قال عيسى بن مريم للحواريين من أنصاري إلى الله قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون والله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم أعيذ نفسي بالله تعالى من كل ما يسمع بأذنين ويبصر بعينين ويمشي برجلين ويبطش بيدين ويتكلم بشفتين حصنت نفسي بالله الخالق الأكبر من شر ما أخاف وأحذر من الجن والإنس وأن يحضرون عز جاره وجل ثناؤه وتقدست أسماؤه ولا إله غيره اللهم إني جعلك في نحور أعدائي وأعوذ بك من شرورهم وتحيرهم ومكرهم وكائدهم أطفئ نار من أراد بي عداوة من الجن والإنس يا حفظ يا حفيظ يا كافي يا محيط سبحانك يا رب ما أعظم شأنك وأعز سلطانك تحسنت بالله بسم الله بآية الله ملائكة الله وأنبياء الله ورسل الله والصالحين من عباد الله حصنت نفسي بلا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم اللهم احرسني بعينك التي لا تنام واكنفني بكنفك الذي لا يرام وارحمني بقدرتك علي فلا أهلك وأنت ثقتي ورجائي يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا دارك الهالكين يا دارك الهالكين يا دارك الهالكين اكفني شر كل طارق يطرق بليل أو نهار إلا طارقا يطرق بخير إنك على كل شيء قدير بسم الله أرقي نفسي من كل ما يؤذي ومن كل حاسد الله شفائي بسم الله رقيت اللهم رب الناس أذهب الباس اشفي أنت الشافي وعافي أنت المعافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما ولا ألما يا كافي يا وافي يا حميد يا مجيد ارفع عني كل تعب شديد واكفني من الحد والحديد والمرض الشديد والجيش العديد واجعل لي نورا من نورك وعزا من عزك ونصرا من نصرك وبهاء من بهائك وعطاء من عطائك وحراسة من حراستك وتأييد من تأييدك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام والمواهب العظام أسألك أن تكفيني من شر كل ذي شر إنك أنت الله الخالق الأكبر صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والحمد لله رب العالمين ظاهرا وباطنا وعلى كل حال يا أرحم الراحمين. Inshallah, we take 2 minutes of dua Wednesday between Dhuhr and Asr is, inshallah, there's a Sa'at Ijabah. So we'll take a few minutes after having recited Hizb al-Nasr from Imam al-Haddad. الله بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I want to remind people how amazing it is to take a 5-minute break from your phone because our addiction is pretty bad. And you know that there is this video going on regarding mice experiment with mice that they created in mouse paradise. Perfect proportion of men and women, male and female mice. All the food you can want, sunlight, beauty, just mouse heaven. No predators, protection from predators, etc. And then they're mating like crazy. So population went through the roof. The population went crazy. And when the population went up, the competition for everything went up, the crowdedness went up, people started to isolate themselves. The mice started to isolate themselves. The mice started to isolate themselves, and eventually relation went. They stopped mating. It was too much. Our world is like that. It's just like too much. So people just isolate themselves. So the population dipped. Interestingly, they also said the males started grooming more. They started grooming more and becoming effeminate. And then the population dipped and the whole mouse colony died off. That's one experiment. Another experiment had basically almost like a type of button that would release some cocaine for the mouse. And so the mouse eventually accidentally discovered it. And when he accidentally discovered it, he wouldn't do anything else. He'd clicking it like nonstop and getting, feeling like, look, he's amazing and everything. Eventually they opened the gate of the cage for him to leave. They put food, they put water, they put females. He didn't do anything. That's more appropriate for the phone. The first experiment is appropriate to like world population. And in a sense, why people don't marry anymore, if we're going to go that route in that discussion, it's because there's almost like there's so many choices, you're paralyzed, right? But this second discussion has to do with the addiction that we have to our phones, because it's a free happiness, right? It's like free enjoyment with no effort put in. And so they opened the gate, the mouse wouldn't leave. They presented female mice, wouldn't do it. Almost saying it was a rat. Yeah, maybe it was a rat rather than a mouse. I can't remember. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And then you had food and drink. He didn't even drink anymore. So that mouse just, or that rat, whatever it was, just died. He just died. Died with his hand on the button. That's crazy. Omar is introducing me to the word LooksMaxxing.
So have you heard of Shaykh? Have you heard of LooksMaxxing?
Well, I guess that's basically self-explanatory.
Oh no,
right?
it's like
LooksMaxxing.
You know, they have like these the new generation has these random trends that like make no sense sometimes, like these really weird memes.
Yeah.
LooksMaxxing. It's like I didn't know much about it. I had to kind of search it up because I've heard about it. Like a really big thing now where it's like basically just trying to do everything to physically improve your appearance. That's like you know, mewing, like
Mewing?
oh man, it's
Plucking?
mewing is like basically like an exercise to like fix your jaw, like make your jaw like sharp or something. It's like so it's basically LooksMaxxing is this like the name says. It's like doing everything you can to improve your appearance, even like micro
That's all people do now.
fixes on your face.
And the rich, that's all they do. Like Jeff Bezos, is all he does is work out in the gym now to try to look good. They don't have akhirah, those folks. We have akhirah. They don't have sakina that comes down through angels into their heart that makes you're sufficient. So I'm actually all for health, actually. And if you're married, you have to do these things. Otherwise, you could actually basically become a fitna. You can become a fitna for your husband or wife, right? I don't even believe in this jaw thing, to be honest with you. It's your bone structure. You've got it or you don't. You can't eat nuts, right, and strengthen your muscle here. So this is how civilization dies. Almost show me all the LooksMaxxing guy stuff. I think this house of that's the end of a lineage. I think, like, you're not a normal person anymore.
It's kind of a meme, but it's also like an actual thing that people.
100%. And I called it way back that there will be plastic surgery places in every mall, no different than a massage parlor, right? And people would be looking at each other. Why don't you go fix your nose, right? It's only like, I think you have to wait till you're like 19 where you stop growing. 2021, and there's like, what is it, like $7,000 or something? I don't know what the cost, but it's nothing. It's going to be so cheap because there will be so many stalls for or store places for it.
Oh, every single pleasure that we can think of, it's like society's going to like getting to the point where it's like the max version of everything, like
Yeah.
the most extreme version of everything.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, people, we have dhikrullah, we have we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have the grave coming up. Don't get deluded. Everyone's going to the grave. What is you do what's normally acceptable, what we'd expect. Try to not be overweight. Watch your skin. The Prophet did that. He watched his skin. He used olive oil all the time on his skin. Half the food we eat today is no good. So just I'm all into what is it called again? Aphagy or something? What is that stuff that we're talking about, Omar? Aphagy or whatever? Huh? Autophagy, whatever it's called. It's basically let your body don't eat for 2-3 days. Don't eat food for 2-3 days. Your body will go into the visceral fats and all the bad fats, and all of a sudden you keep this habit up all summer, right? You don't eat for 20 hours. You don't eat for 48 hours. You don't eat for 36 hours. Different, right? Times. You're going to look great. But you got to do push-ups. You got to do calisthenics, because have you ever seen someone who lost a lot of weight, but you think to yourself, the dude looked better fat, right? You ever notice that? That's because he lost weight, but didn't replace it with muscle. That's the problem. I see some people and I'm like, what's going on here? We look like a sick ward in the masjid now. Everyone is so skinny, but you lost fat, but you didn't replace it with muscle. This doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. You look better with some fat on you. Go eat. Go eat, right? But the truth is that you have to replace it with muscle. Anyway, if you do autophagy, or whatever they want to call it, because I still don't know how it's pronounced. I think it's autophagy. You do truly need to exercise to jumpstart your body to say, all right, I need to burn something, and you need to replace that stuff with some muscle. But let's look at it from a perspective of prophets and afterlife. To what degree are we going to spend time on that? And to what degree is that important? It's like a nice hobby. To a degree, it's necessary, because if you start looking like a bum and looking out of shape, and you don't take care of your hair or your skin or your face or your body, I think possibly shaitan, you invite shaitan. And your wife may end up being, unhappy. She's not going to say anything. But shaitan can talk and he can whisper. So enough to avoid that. She's not living in the old society where all she's going to see is her aunts and her grandma and her mom and her sisters. She's walking, seeing all these other guys too. And it's oftentimes fake, I think. Plastic surgery, 8 hours in the gym. No one has time for that. So she's a whole bunch of fake people. Now, it works for the guy too. If a woman doesn't take care of herself, well, he's even more inundated with this kind of trash. So plenty of room for shaitan to come in and make you unhappy. But that's why the world needs spirituality. We need spirituality. We need to be really bring the death right up in front of us. What are you worried about the dunya for? We are leaving, guaranteed 110%. I'm leaving this place. It's really good to live with elderly. They're leaving all the time. If I ever go walk in and I see like the TV has, my mind is paralyzed. If the TV goes onto one of these, there are Arab women podcasts now, and it's just talking nonsense. And there are, I'm sure, guy podcasts, but her algorithm has these like two women in specific that are just Arab women talking, not just gossiping. And I know that the channel got there by accident. Just, the videos just keep going. I throw a fit. Alas, we're going to the grave any minute now, right? Right? And sort of a funny discussion, but I say, we're going to the grave any minute now. Put Abdul Basit on. Put Minshawi on. Put Sharawi on. die upon that, right? Not gossip girls from Lebanon. So I eventually got them off the algorithm. Right. 100%. Mm-hmm. SubhanAllah. 110%. And you also got to think of, do you know how much happiness could be attained just from spirituality? And sometimes we need to almost like have the worldly side taken away from us in order to have no other option except that. Like COVID, I actually have good memories of COVID. Although during it, I was a bit anxious. You want to get out, but I had great memories from that because you had nothing else to do. So pull out the mushaf, right? Burning. I've never done it before. SubhanAllah. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. SubhanAllah. Yep. Yep. I mean, just sticking with the Jama'ah is so important. And because fitra, human beings, we need to plug out of this digital trap that we're in. What was somebody asking right now? Maturidi Aqidah, arcview.org. That's not even a discussion. Arcview.org teaches Maturidi Aqidah from Sheikh Murad Uthman. SubhanAllah. Yeah, COVID had three parts to me in my mind. It had 1/3 that we were all getting connected on Zoom, community updates and classes on Zoom. Ramadan, the Quran was recited on Zoom, and then we'd have a post Tarawih, Khatira, etc. The second third, the middle portion, I think we all got tired of it, and nobody did anything. Bare minimum of Zoom. And third, final third, was just arguing about vaccines, which was an annoying as heck thing. Yeah. What do the Malikis say about the 6 Shawwal? And it's the min. See, min could be tab'id, and it could be like the starting point, a word that indicates a starting point. So Imam Malik understood it as 6 days from Shawwal onwards for the rest of the year. And his proof for that is that he did not see the best of the scholars of Medina ever fast the 6 days of Shawwal. So that's why for Malik, he feared that if people would start to treat it as if it's fard. Now, I don't think anyone's going to treat it as if it's fard anymore. So that Allah's gone. But that his other proof remains, which is that he understood it as from Shawwal onwards, not in Shawwal, not of Shawwal, but from Shawwal onwards. And that the ulama of Medina, the best of the people in Medina, they didn't fast it. But you know, we're in a time that we should encourage ibad as much as we can, even if that's not the dominant opinion of our madhab. But we should encourage it. Why would we discourage people from doing it? In the Shafii school, Hanafi school, they all have that. So, but in the Maliki school, it's not like that. It's 6 days, any time of the year. Any other questions that here? Any other things that we wanted to discuss? Oh, yeah. I'm actually invited to Malaysia. Yeah, I'm invited to Malaysia. We have to find a time because the time that I said didn't match my host. Yeah. Is it halal to watch? This guy must be either 12 years old or 15 years old. Oh, maybe he's serious, actually. I think he's serious because he put a broken heart. Watching pornography during the month of Ramadan. Of course, it's every good deed is multiplied and every bad deed. You know, I sort of dismissed it, but he seems to be serious. every bad deed is multiplied too. The best bet for you is, if it's really bad, then you need to cut off the means by which you see it. So if you see it through a computer or a phone, then you need to lock that up somewhere, and you need to go without it. If you have to be on your computer to do schoolwork, which is, to me, I think it's unfortunate. There used to be a thing called textbooks that you carry, you write notes, but now where's your book? It's on the laptop. SubhanAllah, how's that going to be good for your eyes? But if you have to do that, then put your computer in a, only use your computer in a public space in the house, like the kitchen or the family room, and don't take it upstairs with you in your room. Don't take your phone upstairs with you in your room, etc. Those things I think are very important, to cut off the means, even if it's extreme. So the brother says that he has an addiction. I mean, is he the only one who has addiction? I think he's one of like 99% of the youth have addiction of this thing. This is from the Shughul al-Yahud, 110%, to ruin us all. Let's to be honest. They want to ruin our inner eye, so we have no piety, and that destroys your family. And once kids are born without a healthy father and mother in a house, they're much easier to sway and to control. And Allah knows best.
Right. What's his name? E. Michael Jones? Or Michael E. Jones?
E. Michael Jones, yeah.
Yeah, when he came, remember he said the Yahud, when they took over Ramallah in Palestine,
They
first
made it
thing
free.
they did was they started broadcasting
Unbelievable.
pornography.
Unbelievable.
Like, come on, if that's not so obvious, like,
unbelievable. They put it, if you're a 90s kid, you know this.
later on too, the same thing he mentioned. They started doing that.
If you're a 90s kid, you know this. All through the 80s, Channel 14, HBO was just this like enigma. You couldn't get it unless you paid for it. On top extra for the cable. My parents never paid for it. So Channel 14 would be blurred black and white. And sometimes you'd still watch it blurred black and white like this, trying to make out the movie, right? And listen at least, because they just showed the best movies, right? Movie after movie after movie.
I would recommend, sorry.
Around 1994, someone at Cablevision hit a button and everyone got HBO without paying for it. And then all the facade entered everyone's home. Liqa Kurdiya is somebody we should always, may Allah free her. We do have to, I had discussion the other day with somebody. Said, you're doing wrong by the leftists. I said, oh, I hate leftists and I hate liberals. He said, well, you're doing wrong. And so we talked, and apparently there is a little bit of a change happening that I don't think we were aware of. A lot of those what started off as a purely atheistic leftist group that earned our hatred because of their ideology, despite that they were trying to do something good, a lot of it's changed, actually, according to this testimony from an insider, that a lot of it's changed, and that a lot of them are not as dogmatic in their socialism, Marxism, in terms of the philosophical side. So there are religious people now in these movements now. That piece of information is important because you hate something because of a perception that you have of it. If someone now tells you your perception is incorrect, you have to change your position. And specifically, that some of the alleged, what I used to always characterize as the blue-haired liberal, a lot of them are actually not so distant from considering Islam as and respecting it, at the very least respecting it. So a lot of things, I think we have a perception from a sliver of information that you get and you run with it. But it turns out that maybe time changes, things change, and people aren't the same anymore. And the Palestine movement may have been part of it. They're interacting with so many Muslims. They're seeing Salah at all these marches and stuff. They're interacting with other activist Muslims, and in one, over double digits people entered Islam in one of these marches. I think we have to. So at least me personally, I agreed to no longer characterize and just swat them away the way I used to swat them away. I think that's really important. Because why? Because we're people who promote husn al-dhan. And husn al-dhan, having good opinion of people, also comes to people who may not have heard your full perspective, or have not, they be non-Muslim and haven't really heard much about Islam, or haven't given any exposure to it. So obviously they're going to make decisions without that tool. They're going to order from a menu and they haven't seen the other menu. How can you blame them then? They're just going to order what they think is best, and they're going to do what they think is best. In the same way that we believe in husn al-dhan, I think this is such an important ethic in our hearts. Husn al-dhan. Everyone gets it, and then you have to really do something to not get it, such as have absolute knowledge of the truth, yet still go against it. Okay. That's the person. That's like the default is husn al-dhan. I'm guaranteeing you, your heart will be different. Your troubles will be different, because most people they pass a judgment on someone, then they try to dunk on them, and it turns out you dunked on the wrong person. That person didn't deserve what you got, right? Or you said the truth and dunked on the person at the same time. So the truth was confused now with your mean character. Or that your whole religion is not accepted because you're mean, not because you're saying something true or false. It had nothing to do with the logos. It has to do with the pathos. What kind of emotion did you put out there in the world to that person? So a lot of people who are leaning more, who have the same experience with liberals, let's say, that I did in the past, they may appreciate that kind of the whole old podcast crew, right? They despise these types of people because of their arrogance and their, well, if things have changed now, but yet I retained a mean-spirited attitude towards them, people will reject your message on basis of attitude, not basis of ideas. So then we have to ask, did I do the religion a disservice? Right? Did I misrepresent the Prophet, peace be upon him? Did the Prophet the disservice? Did Allah a disservice? I mean, the haqq of Allah, the deen of Allah, a disservice because of a mean-spirited attitude based upon past experiences, personal experiences. And your past experiences should not always inform your present take, because you weren't the same, right? You weren't the same, especially if you're someone who, like us, allegedly trying to do spiritual work and better ourselves. So in the past, you may have your very sensitive ego, and those people offended your ego, so you hate them. Now you transform the years later, or you're trying to transform, but you're still holding on to something that was egotistical in the first place. And so I'm still keeping Crusaders in suits and closet KKK. I'm still keeping that. You know, I have these characters. Blue-haired liberal. All right, we're shelving that. We're retiring it. Okay. It's expired in a sense because they've changed. I think they've two things happened. They really took a beat down, and that changes people. They took a beat down last 10 years for sure.
Any liberal types, like those, just give it a few years and you'll see the void start to form. Because like come on, like it's just not, when they're like 40 years old, 50 years old now,
Yeah.
and their life is like where it's at. And they're like,
yeah. I think they took a beat down. I think they also exposed to so many Muslims, right? They were exposed to so many Muslims. And I think that changed them. And there's a high Muslim population who found a home with those people. And as a result of that, there have been some changes in that culture, and is not as really, it's really not that as philosophical as it used to be. Like a leftist was philosophically a Marxist, means he must be an atheist. So I think maybe the new generation is a little bit more open to that, to other ideas. So what was I saying? Oh, the other caricatures. Yeah, the closet KKK and crusaders in suits. I think Hegseth is a crusader. 100%. It fits him. He doesn't deserve a husnad dan, I don't think. He's a crusader in suits.
Have you seen his tattoo on his arm?
Oh, he's got a Kaafir tattoo on his arm.
Kaafir in Arabic.
In Arabic.
And he has the, like some Latin term, but it was like the crusade, their slogan.
The crusader slogan. He's 100% a crusader.
It was a god something. I don't know what's the translation.
Yeah. Honestly, I think he would like the characterization. Crusader in suit. That's what it is. The others are closet KKKs. And then, yep. Okay. So listen, you know what my take is with all these people, the Zionists and crusaders in suits. Okay. Let's get it over with. Do it. Just do the whole thing. Nuke, take over. Let's get it all over with, right? Like when you're going through the nadir of a situation, just get it over with, right? And that's and sometimes maybe I feel that we shouldn't say that, but think about it. Would you want someone to take a Band-Aid off slowly? If there's hair and wounds and all that, or rip it off? Just rip it off. It's going to be an Israeli decade, another Israeli decade, maybe after that. And it's going to be short-lived. This is not like the British Empire or the American Empire, which lasted long periods of time. British, long period. America, middle period. It's like Papa Bear, Mama Bear. The Israeli Empire is going to be barely a couple years. That's all it's going to ever be, right? Let's get it over with. And they're laughing. They succeed. They think they're succeeding. Look, this isn't our only face-off. You can win this century. Don't forget something. There's more time to live in the world. There's more time in the past. Forget the past, although that was much better history. But there's more time left in the world. This thing's not going to last. That's number one. So laugh as much as you want now. Naftali Bennett and all these people, laugh as much as you want now. It's not going to last. That's number one. Number two, we are people of the afterlife. Let's never forget that. We are people of the afterlife. That's the real inna dar al-akhirat alayhi al-haywan. That's the real life. And if you don't believe that, you're going to be miserable. Guarantee you that. If you do not believe that, you're going to just fight for a limited resource, which is time and success in this world. You're going to be miserable. What is your take on Dalal al-Khairat? Of course, it's one of the greatest books. Right? I remain conflicted. I read it could be shirk. Oh, come on. This word is just thrown around like
Shirk. You're asking Allah to bless the Prophet or send.
Salah on the Prophet will never, ever be shirk.
You're asking Allah to do it.
Subhanallah.
Gee. Crazy. This is like the necessary of certain groups.
Well, the brother probably just saw it on the internet, right? And you see some people who throw that word around a lot on the internet. But it's really a crazy idea. If I'm standing in Tarawih prayer and the Imam is making dua in witr, can I make my own dua at the same time? Yeah, because that's not Quran. Unlike the Quran, which Shaykh Farid Dingle said, your meditation, your thought, your contemplation should revolve around the verses he's saying, even if you don't understand. But you hear Musa, you know that. Al-Jannah, you know that. Latif, you know what that means. Kareem, you know what that means. But dua, no, dua is not Quran. So yes, your mind can wander there. I heard that there's 53 years left until the end of time. Do you agree? Whatever number people say, Allah will change it. Right? It will not be whatever people say, because these things are, Allah wants, would not have that people are predicting it. No, it's not like that. Not like that at all. What time is it? 4:40? Plus we got to go. Oh, the episode's on too. Yeah. I'm up against myself now. I saw videos, Zakir Naik and Yasser Qadi saying they follow the opinion that istimna is makruh. Is it a valid opinion? Self-pleasuring is, we have to view that as haram and really is only permitted in one situation and actually becomes obligatory if you are literally in the position to commit zina with somebody. Then you do that, it would remove the desire to commit zina. But I mean, how many times are people in that situation? One last thing, 6 ways to support your neighbors at Delaney Hall. It's the largest detention center on the East Coast. It's in Newark. Share financial resources, large need for legal aid and assistance with essentials like paying rent, groceries, and even visiting family members. Delaney Hall sounds like a lecture hall at a university. It's a ICE detention center. Volunteer in person. You show personal support. You could be a translator. You can actually support our neighbors by accompanying them to ICE check-ins, court dates, and even see our guy downstairs. He went for his paperwork. He was processing his paperwork to become legal. They nabbed him. A lawyer should have been there with him. I don't know if that would make a difference, but distribute supplies, interact with families by distributing hot food and drinks, blankets, hand warmers, etc. Okay. Individual visitation. Not all detained neighbors have visitors. If you're interested in the commitment required to be helpful, then you could visit a certain website there. I'll share this on my Instagram. Bring food and drinks for them to eat and drink. Okay. Help minimize barriers for visitors. Ton of factors. Clothing violations, they can range in open-ended to. So one of the things that they do is they make life difficult by saying, if you come in with open-toe shoes, Ugg slippers, leggings, hoodies, they could be turned away. So to counter this, people are going to the front of the detention centers and bringing the alternatives so that you don't have to go home. All right, just leave your Uggs here and put on a regular pair of shoes and go. Okay. All right, so I'll share this and maybe I'll be able to actually go and check it out. Maybe we should go check it out. That's the real work, I have to say, to be honest with you. We are theoreticians a little bit too much, to be honest with you. And I think that that's not good. We're theoreticians. I'm not a fan of this. Let's look. Here's a contact for Tarawih for the detainees. Okay, I'm going to contact this person. You know, we avoided this because we thought it was a trap, to be honest with you. But it looks like it's legit. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم.